I'm sure you all got to hear the advertising there. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'm sorry that I'm so late. I will explain that a little bit later, but I feel like particularly with Phantom Brigade, I've been saying that for quite a few weeks. So, anyways, we have got our quality options, and we are ready to make a move on not quite the capital, but getting in closer to the capital. It just takes me a second to get up. I do have my tea, so that will be an improvement overall. And as is, I think the best that I can say is that even if things do wind up going a little bit later or starting later than expected, my commitment is always to make sure that I do, a proper play session. And so, I will probably just be ending a little bit later than than I normally do. Ooh, that's hot. However, I'm still waiting for the game to load. There we go. That is a logo I'm getting increasingly fond of seeing. So, early access. Welcome to the Brigade. We're excited for you to... Sorry, excuse me. Welcome to the Brigade. We're excited for you to experience Phantom Brigade and to have your help shaping its development during its early access period. During the course of development, some aspects of the game might feel rough, sparse, or buggy. Every month, we will release a major update, which will include bug fixes, new features, and quality of life improvements for players. We appreciate your patience and feedback throughout this process as we work to deliver the most important features and fixes. From the main menu, check out our early access roadmap to see what's coming next for Phantom Brigade, reach out to us via the Brace Yourself Games Discord community, or read the latest patch notes for the latest changes and known issues. Thank you for joining us on joining us on this journey, and we look forward to making Phantom Brigade better and better with your help. Warning, and this does apply to viewers. Seizure warning. A very small percentage of people may experience a seizure when exposed to certain visual images, including flashing lights or visual patterns. These seizures may have a variety of symptoms, including lightheadedness, altered vision, eye or face twitching, jerking or shaking of arms or legs, disorientation, confusion, or momentary loss of awareness. Immediately stop playing and consult a doctor if you experience any of these symptoms. If you or any of your relatives have a history of seizures or epilepsy, it is recommended that you consult a doctor before playing. And of course, if there is something that I can do in terms of broadcasting these types of games to make things better for you, more accessible, just generally to try and make, joining the channel be a pleasant experience, please let me know. That sort of stuff is, I think those kinds of suggestions have always been the ones that have made the stream turn out the best. For instance, a lot of people whose English was a second language stopping by and saying that they really appreciate it when the subtitles are turned on. That's a very easy thing for me to do, but of course, because I've been a native English speaker all my life is kind of the definition of native English speaker. I've got my own set of experiences, and I'm not necessarily going to appreciate what everybody out there is going through. And so as a result, it helps me to know little details like that. I got a couple of other bits of housekeeping out of the way. As is always, I should make sure I disclose right off the top. I have been given a key for this game for promotional purposes from Brace Yourself Games. And in addition to that, I have, at least for a couple weeks more, an affiliate account with the Epic Games Store, which this game is currently an exclusive on. So, I always like to say, my opinions are not so cheap that a key is, what it takes to sort of completely sell that out. But it's very clear that I'm incredibly enthusiastic about this game, and it's sort of up to you to weigh that enthusiasm against the fact that I do have not just I've not just received the key, but I do have a small financial incentive in terms of people using that affiliate link. Now, whether or not you use the affiliate link is kind of beside the point. There is a financial interest there, which is not necessarily true for all of the games that I play. So keep that in mind. Although, personally, I do hope, however you wind up playing it, I do hope you get a chance to enjoy Phantom Brigade and that you like it as much as I do. We're still in the Arsenal 2 update. I've been really enjoying that. I think for those of you who've been watching me play this from the very start, Arsenal was what I was looking for, and it's sort of been expanded out to 3 updates. We'll be getting that next one. I don't actually remember. I'm sure there was a date that they attached to it. For all I know, it could be tomorrow. But we are going to be getting the energy weapons as well as some melee improvements. I am interested in seeing what the melee improvements are. And then enemy variants will be intriguing because there's a lot that can be unpacked inside of there. But what I did find through a number of these updates is that there's the stuff that gets put in the label or in the description, and then there is the stuff that you see in the patch notes. And sometimes the patch notes will have a few little updates that are like, oh, this is interesting. So it doesn't hurt. You can also hit the release notes button, but I want to try and be a little more prompt in starting the game. So I also owe someone a message just to let them know I'm broadcasting, and so not to expect a response from me. Okay, sorry about that. So the funny thing is this is probably the most interesting to watch in terms of YouTube, just because I have a feeling that, on YouTube they're probably going to, so there's definitely complaints about the YouTube algorithm, but generally it's not bad at sort of pointing you to, stuff that you might be interested in. And so for that handful of people that like watching my Phantom Brigade stuff, I'm going to assume that it might refer them to another Phantom Brigade video. And what I think is probably most interesting is at the end of the video that I would do the previous week, because I usually play Phantom Brigade about once a week now. Wish I could do it more, but I'm really packed up for games, and that's actually going to get worse in the next little while, it looks like. But I'm going to do my best to make sure that everything gets treated fairly. Everspace 2 is one that I really need to get back into. But one thing that I think is kind of funny is I always do a recap of what my intentions are for the next round, and I would be curious. I really can't stand watching my own stuff, but I actually can't really stand watching that much Twitch, to be honest, although there are some people who I like checking out. But what would be kind of funny is to compare what I say at the end of the broadcast to what I actually do at the start. But in this case here, the objective does seem to be to go to the capital. Now, I haven't actually tested this assumption. The game just says that you need to take the surrounding districts. But on the other hand, it is level 16, and I am not near level 16, and we've had a couple of battles where there is a much smaller level difference, and that was very challenging. So I'm definitely going to do the recommended action and take the surrounding districts, and hopefully we'll also wind up with a little bit of extra gear. So what I'll do here is I think I'm just going to sort of hop to each of these sectors, and then this final army base is sort of the last one because it just lends itself to it just sort of lends itself to this a direct transition into this region. So I mean, if this is planning out a few streams in advance, but it would be something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess this one would be a little bit tougher, but you could probably do something like this, and then Capital City on the final trip. And of course, there's always stuff that's going to show up in between, and I'm sure there'll be invasions and whatnot. So whether or not the pattern actually turns out that way, a totally separate question. Ooh. One thing I'm also trying to improve on these videos, and this is if you are somebody who's looking at this game, particularly maybe if you're thinking of picking this up and trying to find out what the experience of the game is like, I do tend to notice when I really get into this game, it's easier for me to... that's a really nice music transition. it's actually really easy for me to sort of lose my broadcasting sense and just like jump straight into the game. And like for me as a player of games, that's wonderful. Like this game really has a very hard, a very iron, like an iron grip on my attention. But it's terrible for broadcasting because I don't really know if I'm explaining what's going on all that well, and that is normally something that people say is a benefit to the cast. So if something's unclear, do please let me know, and I'll do my best to try and get myself out of my, pure enjoyment phase. But we're attacking the Outpost Bedrock 131. It's a raid, so it says here, smash and grab. We've sort of seen this mission type before. Expected mission type associated with this location. Various places on the map differ, not just in that units might be destroyed there, but also objectives your squad might need to accomplish there. For instance, some missions could be about stealing supplies instead of simply eliminating all hostiles. It's from the Army, branch of the Invasion Forces. Different branches use different equipment and unit compositions. A generic branch of the military that carries all sorts of military-grade equipment. They are not specialized, but cover a lot of bases with their use of mixed squads of tanks and mechs. A resupply point. They are often well guarded, and units are eager to call for reinforcements if attacked. Raids with retreat points allow for loot without having to eliminate all hostiles. Assault. You can attempt to gain control of the structure by mounting an assault with your squad. Suit up. Alright, looks like we're sort of back to... We're even in terms of our default squad, so that's good news. Let's take a quick look. I'll grab the Hermes for a start. Alright, so we don't have any markers about better parts. So as you can see here, like the level that the game has given this particular unit is 8.4. The big challenge is that it's not just enough to put the highest level part onto your mech. So for instance, I've got this Nox Heavy here, it's level 17. I'm sure I could just make this terrifying bruiser. I've built this particular unit around being, appallingly fast. And this particular build that I've made is actually quite reliant on a number of these parts that I put in. The challenge is that if I take a part like this Nox Heavy, it may get me a few things that I want to accomplish, but in the end, it's a totally different design for the mech than what I have in mind. So, in this case here, I'm going in with a pretty severely underpowered squad, but the trade-off that I'm experiencing on this is that generally I'm finding my ability to make certain decisions on the battlefield is more effective than, say, running in with a top level version of every mech. But just to give you an idea, like we're really starting to test the bounds of those gaps. My Hermes, it's a level 8. It's the lowest level out of everything. My highest level is level 12, and what I'm going up against are enemy levels 13. So in everything, they sort of outrank me as far as the game is measuring it. But in this particular case, it's as much as 5 levels, which is a little scary. Rebel units in range, engaging. Request backup. Sorry, I just need to deal with one more incidental. I actually had a really brutal weekend. This is one of the reasons why I'm very slow and scattered on streaming today. I need to kind of decompress a little bit, but it looks like somebody I know has also had some trouble with that, so I just want to let them know. I did let them know I'm broadcasting, but I don't want to just I don't just want to leave someone hanging if they're feeling in a tough spot. So, let's see what we're up against. It is one of the smash and grab missions, so one of the things I can do, if we get our units to these areas and... Oh, this is interesting. I don't think this is intentional, but it looks like the mech is going to collide with the turret. And I'm assuming that's just... Well, maybe it's not an error in spawning, because it's not forced to do that. It could have gone to the side. I don't know, though, like... I'm wondering if this is intentional or not. We'll see what happens to the turret. So the only thing I really need to do on this particular mission is to get a unit into these areas here and to stay there for 2 turns, and then if I want, I have the option of sort of escaping. The game will tell you retreat's possible in 3 turns, so what could happen would be, units run in, stay put, and then run out. Now that's very unlikely to happen on this particular round because there is a turret that's covering the, this supply point, and then a turret that's covering this one. Now, it's possible that, with a little fancy footwork, we can get close enough that they're not able to target us, but that's something of a big assumption. But the one good thing about turrets is that they are static defenses. So the other thing that we need to worry about right now are the mech and the tank. So the tank has got an autocannon, which is a short-range weapon. If we can pick this thing off at long range, then we really don't need to worry about it. And then finally, there is the possibility that this unit is going to crash. It's a medium-sized mech, so I'm not quite sure how it works. Yeah, this is ultra heavy, so this thing's not gonna give way. Huh? He's walking and firing with the marksman rifle, huh? But yeah, this is a weapon. Actually, this mech is very similar to my own sniper, except that I've got a proper sniper rifle. But in general, I'm not that fearful of this particular mech, and it's just because the Hermes is the target. So I can do some things like close the distance really rapidly and and cause them some inconveniences that way, or just run myself around the edge. So you like the graphic style, very smooth. Oh yeah, this game is unbelievably good looking. I mean, this is one of the things that I don't quite know about early access. I don't know if developers have an incentive to put put some extra effort into into making a game look the way that it does early on in development as a result of early access, or if I get the impression that the team behind this game is very good at animation or technical animation, or whatever the specific discipline is that makes this game look so good. Again, I'm not among the initiated when it comes to gaming terms. But again, I don't know if this is just one of these things where it's a little bit easier to to make a sort of let people see the vision for the game visually. I know it's it's very common and easy to say, oh well, I don't care about graphics, but let's face it, like if you look at a trailer for a game and it looks a little ramshackle, you're probably not going to play it. And of course, this game is very cinematic in its style. So it's not just the fact that it's a good sort of turn-based tactics game like XCOM, but it's it's one where, like, when you see the effects of what what your squad has been up to, it's just incredibly satisfying to see it all play out. Again, this is one of the... I don't mean to make it sound like the developers are sort of doing something, underhanded in terms of making it look better than it really is, because it really is as good as it looks. But I'm not sure if it's just a question that there's a sort of an imperative to make a game look very good early if you're doing something early access, or if there's a... Sorry, I just want to work out my angles here. That might work, but I'm a little doubtful. Or if this is just kind of the team playing to its strength. But either way, the game looks wonderful, and when you get to see the action play out, the game just really comes into its own, in my opinion. I say that comment now too, by the way, just because I don't think I can say what game it was, but I was invited to be sort of an early tester on something that I was really interested in, and the game has actually turned out to be pretty good. But I do remember when I played it, I was very surprised at what it was like to play a game that early in development. I'd never really seen what games look like that early, and so I sort of appreciate that it's easy for me as a player to just assume that this stuff sort of happens automatically, that you get to see, the sunset and, just the environments just magically happen, elves put them there. and game designers, sit around a table talking about how to make stuff fun. But of course, having now played something that was in an early state but wasn't being sold through early access, again, it's different teams, and so they might have different approaches. But I do sometimes wonder what the for the games that I've played that look the way that they do. I got to be careful because my big guy's gonna collide with people. It's one of these things that sort of made me wonder now if the order of certain tasks gets done differently for early access. Okay, so the general plan here is just to get as close as I can. I wanted to try and get a couple of early shots where I can. So the Hermes is going to be dodging behind this building here. That should mean that the marksman rifle doesn't actually connect. And then I had a small opportunity with the sniper rifle to hit the tank, but honestly the thing that's really going to be selling with the tank is to have my melee unit come in and hit them right away. So because I do want to see what happens when this unit potentially bangs into the turret, I'm going to do it slow motion at the start. All right, so we didn't need to worry about dodging the weapon. So that, in my view, is probably not intentional. Okay, that did some good work. It's completely pointless for me to be doing the melee strike now, but... Okay, now this guy was... I should have been paying attention to who they were firing the missile at, because there's clearly something that launched. So the way turrets work in this game, these were added in the new update. Basically, they will scan the air. Oh my god! That can't be right. Okay, no, I get it now. I get it now. They're attacking with their sidearm. It's a cluster missile. And they really want the Hermes. Okay. That's fine, because you're going to get a chance to see me do some rocket dodging. Now I am a little bit worried. It's possible that the Sleipnir is going to fall over the edge of that tank. I'm going to hope that things turn out a little bit better. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move in closer. So this unit's going to be doing a missile strike on the Hermes, and then it looks like, okay, they just want the Hermes dead. So my preference would be to just whack him with a melee strike right away. There's two problems with this move, though. Number one, it's a little bit early, so I'm going to be overheating. And number two, I'm going to be going right in the middle of the attack scan. So the way that turrets work is that if there's a unit in range, they will automatically attack them. Their attack, if you want to know what your enemies can do, you can basically treat them the same as your units. It's not like Frozen Synapse in the sense that you do not get to plan out your enemy movements. You have perfect knowledge of what your enemies are going to do, but you can at least get an idea in terms of what the weapons are going to do. So for instance, this short range missile is going to do 1200 damage in a full volley. What's the unit that I'm going to be putting potentially in danger? Well, its torso has got about 800 health. So this is not the sort of thing I want to just carelessly run into range of the turret. So I've got two options, which is number one, wait for the enemy to come out of range, or number two, try and keep the amount of time that I spend in the danger zone to a minimum. In this case here, my decision's sort of made for me by virtue of the fact that that I've got a cooldown already. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move off to the side. All right, so I probably have to skirt the edge no matter what. This is probably best, though. So we finish our move, run forward. So as you can see here, there's just this point where the missile starts running off. And so what I'll do as a precautionary measure, I'm actually going to move this unit I think I'll just move them sort of back like this. I would probably normally want to get them in the area, but I want to try and do something special if the missiles do turn out to be a problem. Okay, next up, let's think about my sniper. Now, my sniper's probably best served taking some shots on whatever turret is causing me the most grief at the moment. So we'll set them up on some high ground. All right, this is the worst possible place I could have put my sniper. So let's put him over there. It's kind of half cover, it still works. Really? Oh, it's probably because I was moving. All right, that's still not a great to hit, Chads. I can still slightly angle things to my favor. Yeah, so that's a little more. It's a little more likely. So there's always a small worry here. The way that the game will communicate the shots to you is they'll go from the base of the model to the base of the model. So it's a little bit like if you've ever played sort of a miniature-based war game. I haven't played a lot of them, but they seem to have a common convention of sort of saying that when you need to take a measurement, it's like the base of the model versus the base of the model, because like obviously some of these things can be large and you know, you can get into a fight. Like nobody wants to lose, right? So you can get into a fight about what what's a legitimate a legitimate attack and such. All right, I got to do a little dancing around here just to make sure that I right. So I become the target of the marksman at that point. So I think here I'm gonna set myself up behind the. This may be a problem, actually. So the idea, well, hang on. Yeah, so the way I'm thinking about this turn right now is under normal circumstances, I would move the Hermes out and be more aggressive on this marksman. The problem is that it's possible the Sleipnir will trip over the tank, and as a result, that leaves my. So instead of knocking over the mech, my Hermes would be left wide open. So because I don't really have any way, well, it might be something I can try here. No, not really, because he has Linus. Oh, this is interesting. So if I did that. Okay, I got an idea. So run forward. Ah, really? Okay, no point in doing the attack. So the reason I didn't like that move is that the enemy unit is firing missiles at me. Those missiles are going to lock on and try and take me out. I don't have a lot of time to deal with it. So instead, what I do here is I move forward. Now, there is the challenge that the enemy unit is still going to be firing on me, but I'm in the middle of a dash against a marksman rifle, which already has some spread, and it's not in the optimal range. And I'm going to be moving really fast, so the likelihood of me getting hit is actually quite low. Now, what I'd love to do is finish the turn by, going behind this cover and opening fire on the turret, but I've already used up a lot of heat in order to get that dash done. So I'll just, I'll content myself with knowing that I've... Actually, there's probably one more thing I can do. Yup. That's even better. And that might give me enough... Oh... That's a pity. So the one thing that makes is an improvement over this one is I get the dash started right away. I'm already sort of behind some cover by the time that they start firing, and I'm in full cover during the time when the bullets would actually likely hit. Okay, turn is starting to shape up. So it's really just my big lumbering lance. So the lance is a wonderful mech. The only problem is that because I've made it just this bruiser, it's very slow. So every once in a while I will take advantage of my jets to move quickly. I don't want to get in the way of my sniper, but I figure I can at least join in the fun and get a shotgun shot off. There's a couple things that I want to keep an eye on. Number one, I want to see what happens to the Sleipnir, both against the tank, but also in terms of the missile. I want to see what happens to the Hermes when it tries to dodge the missiles, and I want to see whether or not Polaris in the Behemoth is able to land those shots from the distance. Because again, it's base to base, so the gun's going to be a little bit higher, and this isn't all that high of an obstruction, although obviously when I was closer to it, it was much less likely that I would hit it. So let's see the magic happen. I still don't know what happened to that missile. Okay, so that doesn't count as getting hit by the tank. I also just really like this song, so it's easy to go into slow-mo. Okay, so shots are coming in. This is going to be really interesting to see if we can get past him. I'm doubtful, but I've been surprised by the Hermes before. No, we got hit. Took out his legs. That's beautiful. Okay, so we got a little bit of damage from those missiles, but now we're dodging them. And then we can finish the turn with a shotgun from the Lance. So I believe kind of a full-on replay feature is planned for the future. It's listed on the roadmap. It comes up in the Discord every once in a while. But clearly, you know, being able to go over a few different factors of that would be really special for this game. You've got the missiles that are coming after the Hermes, the dodge that's happening there. You've got the attack from the melee unit going in. You've got sniper fire kind of whizzing past its head. And then you kind of get to see the Lance kind of come in to deliver a shotgun as the sniper's going on in the background. This is, I think, the easiest way. I'm reluctant to give these kinds of pitches on a game because I tend to think it's not really if you haven't seen the game, you can't quite appreciate what it means exactly. But I would say that this game is probably the closest a game has ever got to being like what the trailer looks like. There's this really great trailer when the game was announced that sort of shows, the tanks firing on a village, and there's a girl riding on a bike and she gets knocked over and one of the shells is on the way to hitting her, and then you've got kind of a mech like this that actually I think the color scheme is kind of similar to it as well. It sort of comes in and slams the shield down at the last possible second, and you've got one of the pilots saying to the other ones, I can only hold this for 5 more seconds, and it's like I only need 3, and they do a countdown, and then they come in to take out the enemy units, and all of that is present within the game here already in the early access stage. It's one of the reasons I lose myself playing this game so much, because it's really something that they've done such a good job of sort of capturing all of the most Hollywood moments of any given tactics game that you're going to play. And of course, they did the great thing of putting in slow-mo. So like my progress through the game has gone to a crawl just because the game is so pretty. But anyways, we do have reinforcements that are on their way. Now, again, we always have the option of taking the loot and running. I believe you do get more stuff if you defeat all the enemy units. But I have also learned that if you stick around on some of them, there can be some pretty severe consequences. They have removed the ability to shoot enemies that are incoming. At least I believe that they have. And so there's nothing we can do about these tanks. The biggest question here is going to be whether or not it has a cannon armament or autocannon. If it's an autocannon, we don't really need to worry about them because we just pick them off at long range. If it's cannon, we need to find some cover and we need to find a way of dealing with those units. But there's other stuff that we can be doing right now. So, the missiles are still going to be locking onto the Hermes. Probably the first thing I want to find out is what this mech is going to be doing. Chances are it's not going to... It's probably going to want to, to fight to the bitter end here. So it's going to be lobbing its missiles. Probably the best unit I have to solve this is just the Lance with its shotgun, which means the rest of the turn is really spent dealing with the turrets in the best way that I can. Obviously, if I'm not careful, my Hermes is going to wind up in the middle of of the danger zone for one of these turrets. And I do, because it's the fastest moving one, if I can, I want it to get objectives. If I can't get it to get objectives, then at the very least I want it to be in a good position to handle the reinforcements. So for starters, okay, so this is encouraging actually. As a tentative move, I'm going to set them up. Oh. I didn't think I counted as being... Yeah, I'm definitely not in that range. I do want to be careful on it. So it's not an ideal range, but it does let me get a little bit done. I am also going to try and get some extra shots on its companion. And this isn't the most exciting move that I could... You know what? I'll use the things as they were designed. I'll try... Oh, wow. Has that always been the case with my minimum range? No, I'm just that close. Okay. Well, with that in mind then, so if this thing's going to do 305 in a volley, this thing's going to do 678. They both have an equal probability, so this sort of has the higher expected damage. I should probably reevaluate what sidearm I put on my Hermes at this point. Okay, the missiles are coming after the Sleipnir now, so ideally we'll take that unit out as quickly as possible. Okay, I'm going to try something a bit bold. Okay, so that's a non-starter. If I do a dash for starters... Okay, that's viable. Gotta worry about crashing, though. So what I'm trying to do here is get the Sleipnir in place for... Again, I don't actually think that this is going to be firing on my Sleipnir here. What I'm trying to do is just get my units into a place where they can take objectives. That way I get the option to escape if I need. Although, again, escape is going to be through these tanks, so it's pretty unlikely that anything's going to be happening there. I am mildly curious what happened. Well, okay. Can I actually get away with... This is a little silly, but I'm kind of curious what happens if I try and do melee strikes on the... Oh, I trip over the bad guy, though. So, like, I'm curious about this. Well, I'm curious about this for a number of reasons, but it's actually very convenient too because I just wind up going to the objective right away. Okay, so I gotta try and find a way of doing this shotgun without a friendly fire incident. Okay, so I'll stay put for the 2 shots. It's possible the missiles will be lobbed at the Sleipnir, and I'm just going to sort of walk towards what I'm going to assume will be the encounter with the tanks. So that does invite the question in terms of how am I going to use my sniper? Do I think I need another round of attacks on the turret? Probably not, and I think friendly fire is a realistic problem. So then the question is, well, where's the best placement not only to deal with the turrets that are coming in, or the turrets that we're still dealing with, but also to deal with the tanks. So I always regret when I stick the behemoth up on something really tall, but I always really want to do it because I think it looks neat. Oh, this is gonna be so silly. Okay, it's viable. I just need to cool down a bit. The weight is a little hard to work out in this game. I think it's based on the distance. So I think the problem is that it's probably based on the distance on the map. And so I'm on, like, basically I'm on a tall area. So I'm not 100% sure how the game is registering. So like here I've got like a little sliver on the timeline, but when the game actually realizes it, it's my entire, move, which is not good. Okay, that's doable. I'm sure that's something that'll be improved in the quality. I would make a guess that probably quality of life update will fix some of that. But I mean, it's not. Honestly, it's not the end of the world in the current stage. Okay, this is actually not a bad little perch. So unfortunately, all of the waiting has prevented me from being able to get some shots on the turret. But if these guys are autocannons, we're laughing. If they are full cannons, then I'm in for a very bad day. Also, we really need to get rid of that turret. So this is not the best place for a sniper, other than the fact that it will look kind of cool to see them fly up into a perch. Okay, arms down. So is the turret, alright. Another wasted melee strike. It's actually really good that's the left-hand weapon that was taken out, because the missile's no longer a threat to the Sleipnir. So I don't think this unit's going to survive by the end. Yeah, he's done. Okay. Command of the base is circled around to the perimeter. We're ready to pick the squad up if needed. So, let's see what we're up against. Cannon, 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 cannon. Oh boy. Yeah, and perhaps, not surprisingly, the sniper is a very attractive target for these units. So, As fun as that was, I gotta get out of here. Good news is I believe this will protect me completely. And I might actually still have a clear shot. No, that thing's just in the way. Okay, but we can still work with that. I'm going to wait out the cannon. Oh, no. Well, it might work. No point in risking it, though, so I'll get behind the building. I'll maybe wrap up the turn with a shot on the... Actually, looks like a pretty clear shot as it is, so as long as we don't overheat for it, we'll run with it now. So the Sleipnir's in a little bit of a tricky position, so I do need to have a unit that sort of holds position in the face of the attacks. But it really does seem like, so you know, I'll slightly tweak the... Yeah, there's no way I can get there on time. Okay, well, second best. We're just gonna get ourselves into position for the next turn. Okay, so my heavy's coming in to show those tanks who's boss. Let's take a really careful look. Yeah, so it's possible that my Sleipnir might have a little bit of a hit. Let's see if I can move the Hermes into a slightly better position. Yeah, so here they're shooting through a hill, so I'm not that worried. I might even get some friendly fire on their own turret, which would be nice. But that thing should be going down this turn. So not exactly how I expected to be spending this turn. I did rather expect that the behemoth would not really be doing that much this time around, because this always happens when I try to put them in a good hiding spot. But I do think we're going to be getting the objectives at least. So this will be full speed. Okay, they didn't hit the Sleipnir, so. Alright, the crate is locked on. Our drone has the cords and should be descending any second now. I am a little surprised that the turret's still standing. Oh, but this thing is like, it's just a stiff breeze will take it out, so. Let's find out before. So this is going to be a little bit of a different round this time around, and this is because I am going to be focusing a lot on movement. The round before was about taking objectives, and so, you know, I had my units, they're very static. This time around, we're going to be moving in, and specifically we're going to be moving in response to what the tanks are doing, and we'll be making our own, sort of our own best replies to their actions. So it looks like everybody hates the Lance. And I'm totally fine with that, because the Lance has got a big frightening shield. Actually, you know what? I think we're just going to move them right up the middle. So the worry is that partway through this turret fires. Is this actually a concern? No, because somebody will blow it up before. So, does anybody want to hurt the Sleipnir? And the answer there is yes. But we just need to wait for the shot to finish. Okay, so Sleipnir can run around this. The best would be, So I can start an attack. The only problem is that they're out in the open partway through. So can I do an attack and finish it on the same round? Doubtful, but let's not assume. These hills are definitely causing me some problems. So really my best target really is the one that's in the lead there. Problem is that everybody's going to be focusing on the lance, which means I'm going to be running into a lot of enemy fire. So what I'll do is I'm going to take the Sleipnir. Now this is going to put them in a little bit of danger, but I do have this hilly area to sort of protect myself. Under the old version of melee, you wouldn't be able to do a melee attack on something that was on a different plane than you. So you know, if you're on hills, you could have a unit that's, you know, up here and your unit is down here and you wouldn't be able to do an attack. You'll still be obstructed by terrain, but it's a lot less difficult. So under previous patches in the game, I would never have considered using my melee unit in this area. They'd become a target for the cannon fire, but there wouldn't be any there wouldn't really be any attack opportunities until people came onto flat land. So under the current version with the melee updates that have been brought in, it's now sort of viable for me to move the unit inside here. And again, the worry is that the tanks are going to turn their attention towards them. I don't have the best cover in the area here, but I'm sort of hoping a combination of the hills as well as the fact that I'm dashing while doing an attack will allow me to sort of capitalize on the positioning. So next task. So again, I want to make sure I have at least one I have at least one attack on the turret before the lance becomes a target. Oh, and somebody is firing at the Hermes. That is an important detail I didn't realize. Oh, nuts! Let's try that again. Okay, so my movement's going to be a little bit different here. I'm sort of setting myself up to be... I'm trying to set myself up to be sort of in the same area as the behemoth. This is or not the behemoth, the lance. The problem with this is that it's actually really hard because of the speed difference between the two. It's really hard to get that measured just right. It's like I'm not covered by the shield during this wait here. So I could try... So again, little micro movements are fine and all, but my unit moves so fast that pretty much anything I do... Okay. You know what? I think I'm going to take a different approach here. So I'm going to set myself up. I think we're going to focus on the turret at least until the threat is gone, because that doesn't last forever. So we'll hide behind the hill. Say I start my move a little bit later. And yeah, they're not going to attack the Hermes at any other point, so now we start moving in. Now I have been stopping while the Hermes fires. The assault rifle is actually one of the ones that doesn't have that big of a penalty for... You know, I should have a contingency plan in place. Because if I don't hit it at the top, that thing's still going to be able to get its shot off. How long until I can fire that again? Almost immediately. Okay. I don't really like wasting resources like that, but I also don't think the rest of the team's really going to be in any position to do anything else. Okay, yeah, so not quite how I planned the turn, but we're guaranteed to take out this turret now. So as soon as the shells start coming in, which is almost immediately, I'll throw up the shield, and the whole point here is just to draw fire. I'd love to sort of throw up a a shotgun shot at some point around here, but the best thing I can do is just kind of keep the shield up, charge the enemy units, and I mean, the real question now is whether or not I want to just, collide with... Actually, I should probably angle the shield slightly differently. Yeah, so moving forward actually causes me some problems. I gotta move to the side. That's because this unit's gonna wind up attacking me. So I think I'll still probably take a little bit of damage doing this, but again, all of this is sort of drawing fire so that the rest of my units can either get into position or do damage themselves. Okay, so it might have been worth it for the... Oh, I did wind up getting hit by that. So, a little bit of bad luck there. I didn't wind up colliding with the tank, which was sort of the hope, although, it was by design. You'll notice that my unit took relatively little damage, although oddly enough, most of it was not on the shield, which I'm a little sad about. So the first question is, does anybody want to attack the Sleipnir? The answer is no, so this is an opportunity for me. So one of the considerations I want to make with using the Sleipnir here is, are one of these tanks attacking a unit that I find particularly inconvenient? So a great example here would be the fact that this unit is going to be attacking the Hermes. It looks like it's multiple attacks on the Hermes, in fact. So right now, because the Hermes is a relatively light unit, I may not necessarily want to have it in a position where it's taking any damage. So to give you some examples, this whole thing, like its survivability, is based on its speed. If you knock out, so if you guys have played BattleTech, this is a fantastic example. Something like the Locust. Actually, if you play Mech Warrior, here's the thing that's funny about light mechs is that sometimes in a tabletop setting, you kind of wonder when you would really get the most of a Locust. And then you play something like Mech Warrior Online where you can use a Locust, and the fact that nobody can hit you unless there's a missile lock will show you exactly why small, fast mechs are really helpful. So similar idea here, right? The thing that makes this unit viable is the fact that it can zip around the battlefield and it can find cover when it needs to find cover. But cover has its drawbacks. The fact of the matter is that if I don't have a direct line of sight on my target, I'm simply not going to be able to deliver the damage that is the promise of an offensive unit like this. So if I can, second best is to be able to take cover and not take the damage. If the legs get taken out, I've got 276 strength in the legs. If they get a full shot, it's 348 damage. One full hit from one of these tanks can potentially take out my legs, and it's kind of good night on the Hermes. So, first best is it's not targeted at all. Second best is I'm able to get it into cover. So right now there's two viable targets for the Sleipnir here. One is targeting the Hermes. This one, I believe, is only targeting the Lance. Although it really does look like there's more than one unit attacking the Hermes. I think it's just because it's... No, I see exactly what's happening here. So the drift for the attack is quite small because it's stationary, and then by driving, the cone is expanding. That's why it looks like there's more than one unit attacking. So basically, public enemy number one for the Sleipnir is the unit that's... And again, this is kind of team... This is the Phantoms showing that they're good at teamwork. The target that I want to be focusing on with my Sleipnir is the one that's keeping my Hermes from being an effective offensive unit. Now, unfortunately, I do have to wait for it to get there. I should maybe try and let's see if I can shorten that distance at all. I suspect there's at least going to be one batch of attacks that that the Hermes is going to have to endure. I am really worried about... I'm really worried about this approach. So we'll try it. So we run up, we attack, and I trip over his companion. Yeah, so that's not a viable approach. So you can force it to go on the other side if you hit the control button. Unfortunately, I'm not guaranteed to avoid collisions in each of these. Alright, now I'm regretting messing with this. Okay, it's not ideal, but it does the trick. Okay, so the Hermes is going to have to figure out what it wants to do. I think in this case I'm actually just going to run to safety. Yeah, so the good news there is that I just need to worry about that first set of attacks, and then... In fact, it's pretty much done firing by the time I get there, so... Trying to think if there's any other targets, but I think probably just picking on this guy this turn is what I want to do. So they are a fresh tank. It's pretty unlikely that we're going to see them taken out by a batch of shots from the Hermes. This tank is attacking my Sleipnir, which is my sniper. Now, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of places I can move the Behemoth. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of places I can move this unit and still have them effective without... like basically, if I can get a shot off on one of these enemy units, then that enemy unit's going to be able to get a shot off on me. So, there's a very, very small window in which I might be able to get a shot. So I'll wait it out. Okay, so I can't complete the attack, but and of course the next assumption is that my cover holds out for the duration. So we're going to be heading to the next location. It's very likely we'll see this thing collapse this turn. Okay, so the real question here is, when are the attacks showing up and what can I do about them? I gotta be careful that I don't create a friendly fire problem. Ah, here's a possibility. Okay, so I spend the time... I mean, okay, so actually this winds up helping me in a few regards. So number one, I walk over the tank, and that just means that the threat to my sniper is now completely gone. So I'm actually going to completely revise their turn. So this is the thing that's threatening. Okay, but they're still shooting at me, so... So I moved that shield back to the start just because I want to try and open up the possibility of getting that shotgun shot in. Okay, so no more threats to the lance right now. Although there is going to be another tank shot coming in, so I'll prepare for that. Now, knowing what's happening with the sniper, I do still need to sneak behind, at least for a little bit. Hey, it's Huge, how you doing? Oh my goodness! Brace Yourself Games has resubscribed. I'm pretty sure that was somebody gifted that. I don't know, there was a great, actually, you know, sorry. I probably should, okay, I will let you good people know, I don't normally like announcing stuff like this right away because I don't know when it's going to be happening, but there was a really wonderful batch of sub-gifting. One of the people who did that was Andy Wynn of Industries of Titan fame, including a subscription for himself. And at least some of those subscriptions were gifted because people knew that I was on the threshold to getting a new emote slot. And it was, in fact, a lot of the subscriptions, specifically the ones that members from Brace Yourself had gifted to the stream, that did result in that emote slot. So the catch is that I need to commission the emote, and I still need to, like, I have no idea when that's going to be coming up. But for those of you who like these lovely little fellas, I already know who Eyes of Sin will definitely be the person who I ask for it. But the thing is, I got to think about what emote I want to make. I am open to suggestions, by the way. And this is all contingent on the Eyes of Sin accepting the commission. And, obviously I want to make sure that her schedule is sort of respected. Because just because you hire someone for a commission does not mean that you're the only commission that they're doing, right? But yes, that's a lovely little bit of information that I don't know. It feels like if people have gifted and this results in a good thing happening, I break my normal reticence in terms of wanting to. The thing is, I just don't like announcing. I just don't like announcing stuff. I wanted to try and do a price index for games, to try and measure things like welfare for consumers. So like the idea is, are we spending more or less for games over time? And can you say that certain things like the Epic Store coming up? And it really seemed like price information would be available. And one of the reasons this weekend wasn't very good was I contacted one of the people who has historical data. And like, it's not just that they said no, they were really rude about it. So that was a big bummer. And one of the problems is that now I reflect on the fact that I told a couple of people I was working on this, and I still intend to work on it, but something that I thought was there is like gone. I have this problem now where, if I just kept my mouth shut and delivered the goods as opposed to said I was going to work on this thing, I wouldn't have had people excited and ready to go. So with that in mind, that was a lot that I just unpacked there. Your donations did result in and your regular resubscriptions did result in us unlocking a new emote slot, which I'm very happy about. I'm very grateful for. For those of you that do not subscribe, either for whatever reason, channel points or something, I always intend to be able to unlock emotes through channel points. But please do keep in mind, I am breaking a rule for myself of not announcing stuff before it's done, because it's probably going to take a while. Anyways, sorry, that was a really long digression. Thank you very much for resubscribing Brace Yourself Games. And for those of you that do not know them, Brace Yourself Games are the publishers, developers of the Phantom Brigade, along with Industries of Titan, Crypt of the Necrodancer. I've not played Cadence of Hyrule because I've only just recently become a console owner, and regrettably that console is not a Switch. And then I'm sure there's all sorts of other projects running around in the background that none of us know about. But they're a very, very interesting developer. They're also Canadian, which is a huge bonus. You can check out their Discord, which, sorry, let me bring up a link for that. Sorry, I will get back to the game. I know people kind of feel self-conscious when I take a long time shouting them out, but Brace Yourself Games is a really worthwhile channel to follow. So if you want to see what's going on with their different games, including Phantom Brigade, you can check out their Twitch channel there. And if you are interested in this game or any of the other games that they've released, I highly recommend going to the Discord because they are very active there, and there's lots of just AMAs. You will be able to talk to the people who are making the games. Chances are the questions that you have might have already been answered inside of there. But just overall, it's a very positive atmosphere. It's very clear that they've put a lot of effort into sort of maintaining a positive community. And one that is, informative and being able to celebrate all these really great games that they do. And it's just one of these things where, I get to say, it's like, yes, Canadians are the ones who are these like awesome people who are making these great games. So, and they, they're kind enough to give me the key for Phantom Brigade and Industries of Titan, both of which have been incredibly good games and ones that I think are a really good fit for the channel. So lots of reasons to say nice things other than the fact that they seem to be just universally a bunch of really swell people. I hope you're doing well tonight. Okay, let's see what we're up against. I think we're ready to go. I know I was working on the snipers round, but I think unless I can get another shot off, that's... well... I don't normally like having stuff that... no, see, it's going to be behind cover, so if I do anything, I should be moving to a new position. Oh, not at all. Brace Yourself Games. It's like, it sometimes feel bad that it's just words. I don't know. Just feel like I should get you all coffee. Well, I guess the studio is kind of big now, so getting you coffee is like a really big investment now. But no, like obviously, I do sometimes feel a little constrained by the fact that sometimes on Twitch, like everything is the best ever. And so I really try to communicate specifically reasons why I've become sort of something of a super fan as a result. But I also just sort of know that sometimes, getting the message across is a challenge. And so I think it is something that is time well spent. And I'm hoping that a consequence of all of this will be that more people are getting in touch with the games and enjoying them as much as I am. Okay, there is a lot going on here. I really want to see if this attack turns out, and I want to see if the Hermes takes damage. Rest is kind of gravy, but sometimes it's just fun to see stuff go in slow motion as well. Although I guess we can speed it up for the approach. So Lance definitely has not been having a good time with the shield. So, is my Hermes in trouble? No. Well, these tanks are definitely, well, tanky. Oh. Okay, that's good news. And then the attack's going to come in at the start of next round. Okay, so, I mean, a quarter of the remaining forces are down. That's not terrible. Hey, Talwyn Mossthorn, how you doing? I don't know if you've been in for Phantom Brigade or not. Always good to see you. For those of you who don't know Talwyn, they would come in with a few riddles during the streams. I think we've potentially exhausted the resource. But it's a heck of a way to make an impression on the stream. So, did you start doing that during the arena playthroughs, or did you? I can't remember if you had done the riddles before, or if the riddles came in during one of the Elder Scrolls Arena VODs. So one of the things I want to try and work on this tank here, if I can get a hit on the right side, not arena, you have no memory of every watch. Oh, really? Okay, fair enough. Because, well, see, the thing is that that arena has riddles that are actually very similar to some of the ones that you were asking. So it could be that I'm just remembering the fact that arena had riddles, but I definitely remember you coming in with the riddles. So, oh yeah, definitely before Hollow Knight. I only started that last year, but that, yeah, both of those make sense for sure. So I have a small dilemma in the sense that I want to hit, ideally damage here that'll cause this tank to crash. When that tank crashes, it's no longer a threat to the Hermes. The big question, though, is how do I most effectively do damage to the right-hand side? Really, the only thing that seems to be available is the Sleipnir. So while I would normally want to use it for something else, I think I should just acknowledge the fact that it's what I've got. Of course, it's sort of this is not the most elegant solution to this problem, right? Because the problem here is that with my primary weapon, I already do spectacular amounts of damage on its own. Actually, you know what? Can I get away with this one? Looks like I can. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. All right. So basically, the reason why I focused on this one was so the problem with the attack on this Hermes here is it's going to happen regardless of what the Sleipnir does, right? The one that is something that'll be more meaningful in terms of suppressing the Hermes, or something that I might want to suppress with my existing units, is the second attack. So what'll happen with the Hermes is I just move them behind cover, and we're golden. One of the most immediate answers that I can get in terms of getting rid of problems is to throw up the shield and just walk over them. Yeah. So what should happen is at the 2-second mark, every tank should basically be completely idle. So I'll build the rest of the turn around trying to pick them apart as best as I can. So first thing, it does feature a name, but the name itself isn't at all relevant to the riddle. Okay, feel free to share it, Talwin. I will admit I've come off of a rotten weekend, and I'm still a little loopy over the late start and sort of scrambling to get everything ready to go. So I know I kind of give this warning every time, but I am particularly vulnerable to creative thinking at the moment here. I suspect I may be particularly thick. Although, hopefully chat will come in and rescue me, show off a bunch of smarts. But yeah, feel free to share if you've got one. Prince Arutha, from his lofty perch, will find our troops without a search. His men will fall, his castle too, and then what will Prince Arutha do? From his lofty, he find troops without a search. His men will fall, his castle too. Fly away, like because he's a bird. This is one of these points now that I'm committed to one answer, so I'm gonna have to undumb myself from the. I'm gonna have to undumb myself from the unproductive train of thought that I've just put myself onto. By the way, I believe that is open to everyone in chat. So if anybody would like to take a crack at it, please please feel free to show me up. Okay. So what I'm trying to do here again is to pick apart the enemy. Kind of pick apart the enemy forces. So they're all sort of destabilized now. It's not going to be shown on the timeline because the timeline is showing what their plans are, and what my own plans are will disrupt them. But we still need to be able to take everybody out. So I've kind of exhausted my options with the Hermes. Got one good hit on this unit. I guess the only bit of relevant context is that Prince Arutha is an actual living prince within the setting, at least. Huh. But he could probably be substituted with any... Okay. Oh, wait a minute. It could be that the troops are like a, It could be that the troops are like insects. So I'm just trying to think, like, would it be like call an exterminator? Well, the same thing, like, I don't know quite how to say, like, what the medieval version of like call an exterminator is. But the men will fall seems a little, yeah, I don't know. I'm not totally convinced. Sorry, I've totally lost attention on the game. Yeah, this is a tricky one for me. Okay, so I guess. So one problem I've created for myself is that this unit isn't really being attacked here. I think I have an idea about that, though. So if I take the shotgun on this unit, we'll turn the Sleipnir around. Yeah, Talwyn, I'm sorry. I think I'm gonna have to give up. I don't like giving up so quickly, but I don't know if anybody else is going for it. So let me know. Let me know how off it was. The answer is die. The prince will die. Oh, is that really a riddle then? I mean, I you know, there's nothing saying. I suppose I didn't allow myself, you know, the chance that it was a completely ordinary course of events. Okay, no, I totally need to accept not getting that one. Oh God, I need to remember I can't anticipate on that unit being there. You know what? I'm just going to set the Sleipnir aside. I'll move them off a little bit to just make sure that they don't get hit by the shotgun. I think I'm going to have to leave it be. I'm going to have to let this tank be because I don't know where it's going to be, which means a melee attack's not going to work. The only other thing I could try is to reposition the lance to get the shotgun in, but honestly, if I can get 2 down, then everybody just gangs up on the remaining tank and we go for it. So let's see how it goes. Alright, that one's still active. That's a little bit of a shame. So as you can see, right, letting stuff get through onto the Hermes is a tough call. But we did still get we still got the 3 tanks. Or sorry, we still got 2 of the 3 remaining tanks down. So this is mostly cleanup work now. And this is going to be a little bit of a... I am going to be sort of ganging up on this unit. The idea here is to do as much damage as possible before it starts its attack on the sniper. A little excessive. Okay, 40-second battle, 1,810 damage taken, 12,197 inflicted, no units lost, no subsystems on site, 115 actions planned, about 1 3/4 kilometers traveled. Should just say the number in meters. You also had it's been long enough, you could probably just reuse the list of old riddles and you probably could, Talwin. I do tend to remember, like, they're memorable, so in some cases I probably would get them. What will be really funny, though, is if I go through my archives and see that the ones I don't get are still the same. But let's take a look at the breakdown. So we've got a light arrow. Actually, you know, the light arrow might be helpful for the Sleipnir. Hollowed plating is always welcome. Yeah, it was mostly tanks here, so I'm not expecting too much. Yeah, so this arrow might be something that that I'm able to get something out of. I didn't see it more than once for myself, but... And actually, I'm sorry to be all over the map right now. I could really use with a refill on my tea, so I'm just going to step away for a quick second to turn the kettle on. I will actually make the tea at the desk when the time comes, but again, I'm just feeling a little foggy, so I figure I'm only halfway through, so I figure if I get that done now, I should be able to see the rest through. So if you've not taken a second to get a glass of water or a stretch or just generally take care of yourselves, I encourage you to do that now. I'll be back in just a few seconds once the kettle's on. So it'll be one more little break like that as I go and pour the hot water in, but hopefully that was not too much of a burden on your time. But yeah, so I'm definitely taking a while to get through some of the missions, but the level here isn't catastrophic. I mean, the biggest problem with the high level missions is not so much that they are ones that I can't handle. The big challenge here is that because my units are so fragile, they will... it really just takes a good hit, either a good concussive hit or a case where they're caught out and not able to do... Like, they're caught out and not able to sort of hide behind some cover. It really just takes one of those to be able to take them out, and that's my greater worry. So far, we've been able to manage it, so... we've got Halden, Facility Liberation, expected mission type associated with this location. Various places on the map differ not just in units that might be deployed there, but also in objectives your squad might need to accomplish there. For instance, some missions could be about stealing supplies instead of simply eliminating all hostiles. I wonder if this is the same... I wonder if this is the same text as for the other one. I should take a look at that. A civilian facility, while it is not enforced, units that guard it may be more challenging and will often call for reinforcement. I think it's supposed to be reinforcements. Okay, so first up, let's take a look at the Sleipnir, because we possibly got a body for it. Or not? Oh yeah, I guess there's no rule saying that the arm had to be an arrow. Okay, so this arrow has better barrier and empty plating. This arrow also has better barrier, currently heavy plating. So the way I'm gonna handle, well, what's going on here? So I'm going to take a quick second. I'll put the heavy plating on just for the purposes of comparison. So even though this was technically the better, or well, it seemed like the better part at the time, when I do an apples to apples comparison, the arm that I currently have has higher integrity and a better barrier. So never mind, no replacement. What about the right item? Oh, primary missile launcher. I really do not have a place for the. I really don't have a place for a primary missile launcher yet. Oh, kettle's boiling. I'll be back in just a second. Oh, and I just saw your riddle, Talwyn. I'll be back in a second, and then I can look at it. Okay, so Talwyn's got another riddle, and again, that's I do invite anybody in chat to participate if you're so inclined. So be you ever so quick with vision keen, by your eyes we are never seen, unless perchance it should come to pass you see our reflection in a looking glass. Okay, I gotta parse that one out a little bit. You can't see it with your eyes. You can only see it if it's in... okay, so you could see a reflection in the mirror, but you can't see it on your own. So I'm assuming like this probably is coming from a fantasy setting where like the obvious answers would be like vampires and things like that, but I'm also going to guess that that is not where it's go. Oh, actually, apertures. Yeah, apertures. That's definitely what the like. Now that I see it, your eyes is that's almost certainly the answer. Probably should have spent more time trying to solve it rather than thinking of things it couldn't be, but good work, Aperture Science. Okay, so what we are up against on this one. This is going to be a little bit of a tricky one because they're kind of getting us on both sides, and they've got some fairly good long range. Weaponry. So under some of my old compositions, it was the most viable strategy would be to just focus on one group and be able to sort of turn around and take out the enemy, the weaker enemy force. The problem here is that I do need to acknowledge the fact that most of the weapons can do some pretty devastating damage to my unit. So for instance, a cannon, 348 damage. That is... okay, it's not quite enough to take out the legs on the Hermes, so that's encouraging. But we do have one big advantage, which is this unit's sniper rifle. The sniper rifle is no joke. Like, it does it does a fairly, or it should do a fairly substantial amount of damage. 450 doesn't seem that high compared to what other snipers do. Like mine does 1050. But I think the strategy of just kind of taking out units, you know, the closest units, is the best way for me to deal with being surrounded. The one big problem here is that this unit has got lots of, like, because it's so missile focused, this is not something I can afford to just sit and ignore. So I think the one thing I will do differently, and again, I'm sorry I'm not engaging with your riddles right now, Talwyn, but I gotta sort out my strategy for starters, and then I'll be back on track. If I can dedicate the sniper to taking out the I'm feeling a bit better about that, I think. It's a little close to the... Like, he starts moving into the not so good to hit region around this point. The only thing I could think of doing differently would be, yeah, so that gives me too much heat. I do at least want one unit to sort of address the fact that this unit is going to be causing us problems. They are going to be attacking... It's actually really hard to tell who they're attacking. They're not attacking each other, are they? That's exactly who they're... Okay, well... Some things never change. Sorry, riddle 2. Buckets, barrels, baskets, cans. What must you fill with empty hands? Must you fill with empty hands? Oh, man. You know what? I think the funny thing is, this is one that I sort of remember you asking before. And I totally... It was like, I'm really flummoxed. So I just want to get early. One thing that I think about I'm thinking about the riddle, and again, as always, chat can feel free to think about the like in terms of the riddles, like, please consider those open. Question is, who has a supply of hands lying around? Oh, hang on a second. Like gauntlets or gloves, like something you put your hands in, like clothing. Yeah, I'll say gloves. I'm 90% sure it's got to be something like that. So yeah, one of the things that I think about in terms of heat in this game is, like, if I'm not doing something that's generating heat. Oh, great. If I'm not doing something that's generating heat, I sometimes feel like that's a wasted resource. This game's actually pretty good in making it so that if you're wasteful, then you just sort of stand around waiting for things to happen, and it feels really bad. So I think the game's actually done a really good job of... I think the game has done a really good job of sort of making rash decisions as far as getting or like doing certain actions. So I'm just trying to work out the... I'll explain what's going on here. I think the game's done a really good job of making, you know, wasteful actions be costly. So, like, you don't want to take something like the Hermes and just constantly hold down the trigger on your attacks, because at that point you're not really going to accomplish. You're not going to be able to accomplish anything. You're either going to overheat, or you're going to find yourself in a position where you have, you know, an attack with lots of potential damage, and it's going to be lost simply because you you spent all of that heat doing things that really weren't effective at achieving your long-term goals. I think this might, yeah, so I got to figure out something with this Sleipnir, but I'm breaking my rule of like full engagement on one side because this missile launcher is actually freaking me out a little bit. Twitch is just misbehaving for me. You missed out all the theories between reading the riddle out loud and it's gloves. Oh, I don't even think I had. Oh, I probably said like a few glove related things. I'm kind of contending. I'm also playing the game, so I sometimes I just have stuff kind of going on in my head in the background, and then I'll suddenly switch tracks, which is probably really disorienting for everyone. But yeah, I don't think I came up with any ideas as an alternative. You know, probably the Sleipnir is actually really well positioned for it. So one of the things. Yeah, so I want to try and... my ideal would be to take the Sleipnir and move it on these guys, and the Hermes on these guys. The circumstances are forcing me to do it the opposite way, because the Sleipnir is currently under attack from this tank. Hermes is currently under attack from this tank. So if I can try and make it so that... Let's see. Alright, well, I collide with my own unit there, so that's not a good start. Same problem. Still the same problem. That might work. I have to like give up half the turn to keep myself safe, but okay. I'll explain a little bit about what's going on in this in a bit. But right now I just want to get my Sleipnir into a protective position. Oh, that's an autocannon. Alright, that's actually a lot more encouraging then. So I'm basically going to get my Sleipnir in position to whack this guy with the sword and take them out while they're shooting. So yeah, the whole like switching dance partners like I normally do try and switch dance partners whenever whenever there's an attack like this. But I do think the Sleipnir is probably going to be more helpful in terms of just canceling missile shots that I want to worry about. I'm going to definitely need to make the behemoth do some dodging when the next turn comes. So one thing that I specifically did here, oh, that would have been so good, but I just tickle the edge of the edge of my ally. Okay. Once more with Phelan. So if I just go forward like that instead... Oh, Jesus. Okay, so maybe if I went forward like this. Okay, nope, that protects me from the attack completely. It's also appealing because the heat is dissipating as quickly as possible. I might even get a small bonus in that I can kind of get some revenge attacks on this unit. Alright, so the only thing I'll do slightly differently, I'll wait out the attack on the tank. Or try to, at least. And then I'll move just a little bit. Let's move a little bit closer, and then... Okay, so there's a number of factors going on here. So the one question that might have come up while I was planning this out is, why did I move the lance forward like this? And it's because I realized that this unit was attacking at the very end. And so if I can position it in such a way that they're going to hit their ally in the back... is it Splicer Zero? I am not the developer. I wish I was. I'm nowhere even remotely close to talented for this, but I can let you know that the developer does stream. So if you go to Brace Yourself Games, you can... I don't know... I'm sure they've got a schedule somewhere. Actually, let me just see if I can find that. They will stream Industries of Titan and Phantom Brigade, I think, are on the schedule coming up. I know they were in a little bit earlier, but I think it's also outside of working hours for them, so... Can some pleb like you gain access to the game? You love turn-based tactical games and Battletech mech-type games. Well, the game is currently available for sale on the Epic Games Store, so the game is currently in early access. I should mention, I was given a key for promotional purposes, so just keep in mind that is an affiliate link if you'd like to have a little bit of the revenue for the sale go into my pocket. I'm only going to have that affiliate link for a couple more weeks. But it's also, I know it's the case that not everybody necessarily wants to use the Epic Games Store. Every time that link comes up, I sometimes feel like that debate comes in as well. So I believe the game will be released on Steam. I don't believe there is any official I don't believe there's an official date in terms of when that will be happening. But one other link that I think you will probably find the most helpful, in addition to just being able to check out the game and see what's going on or give some feedback based on your experiences, there is a link. That link that I just put in there is the Discord. It's a very active community. The developers. So if you want to ask questions of the developers, I believe there are AMA sections, but you can see inside of the Discord. They're very active and they're pretty upfront about what the plans for the games are and what people are up to. So I definitely, if you're really interested in engaging with developers, I would say that's actually been a big perk of this game for me myself. But regrettably, I cannot claim any involvement with this other than streaming it. So your buddy's 10,000% anti-epic didn't even play Borderlands with you because of it. You're not. Yeah. So I mean, for me, storefronts are storefronts. I have written articles on the epic stuff and that. But I would say, for me, I've really enjoyed following the game in the early access period. So unless you, if you have hangups about a storefront, it's not my place to tell people where to buy stuff. It's just a practical consideration. The same way that if you want to play Minecraft, well, there's one place you can buy it, and it's not Steam. So the best I can just say is that if people do not want to buy stuff on the Epic Store, then it just means it's a question of waiting. The one thing I can say is 1 year from when it came onto the Epic Store is I know for a fact there is at least one game that I've played that is since past a year, and they have not in fact even announced that they're coming to Steam at all. One of those developers has said that as far as they're concerned, adding another platform and then having to do sort of bug reports split across 2 different versions of the game, for them is not kind of where they want to be putting their attention. So they were pretty clear in terms of saying that right now where you can get the game with them is Epic. So the biggest thing that I always need to stress is that unless it's coming from the developer, any other date is speculation. But it is true that at least as far as these timed exclusives for Epic is concerned, I don't believe there's been a case where it's longer than 1 year. But just keep in mind that, Brace Yourself may have their own ideas in terms of when it's best to release certain games. And I suspect at least part of that might have something to do with the fact that they have more than one game that will be coming out of an early access period, or coming out of an exclusivity period, and so they may want to be staggering those releases as well. But yeah, suffice to say, I suppose at the very least, unless Epic has changed the timings for these sorts of things, the minimum that you would expect at least would be a 1 year period. Okay. Actually, for those of you that like following that stuff, PC Gamer released a couple of the court documents in the lawsuit between Epic and Apple, and it has some material on how much Epic is sort of spending on these sort of free games and exclusives and such. And it's, again, less in terms of competition with Apple on that sense, so much as establishing themselves as a Steam alternative. But I think the one problem with those documents is that I think a lot of people are getting the wrong interpretation of what that means. Like, it's not surprising that Epic is losing money on this right now, because let's face it, Steam is a very, very entrenched, storefront. And anybody who wants to, basically anybody who wants to try and dislodge them, essentially has to be coming in with Epic money. I mean, like GOG has been losing market share to Humble. That's not even a question in terms of them, being a Steam competitor. For them, they're trying to be a Humble competitor. Anyway, sorry. I know my rants on the game industry are not always. I mean, they're from an enthusiastic observer as opposed to any direct experience, and. Some of you are here for Phantom Brigade. But Splicer, I can definitely say if you have any questions about the game, I would be happy to answer what I know. And if it helps you gain some perspective in terms of the nonsense that I'm doing on the screen right now, it gives me something to talk about. Okay, so the reason why I moved the lance where I did and then adjusted it is because this tank wants to attack the lance. Wants to attack the lance. Lance is already going to have its shield up. In fact, I should probably adjust that so it runs a little bit over into the end of that attack. I probably will still need to put the actually, let's try and put that shield up as late as I can. I just want to try and have the overhang for. Okay, so shield's up. So one nice thing is the tank's going to crash into the lance with the shield up, so that's going to cause it to crash. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, also I think the amount that they had guessed was something about 400 million being spent on the guarantees for their timed exclusives. Now that's probably also including some games that haven't been announced yet, but yeah, I was never sure if the free game was something that the developers were volunteering to put on the storefront, or if that was coming out of Epic's pocket. But looking at those numbers, it's probably that Epic's paying for that. But yeah, so the big trick here is that because the tank wants to hit the lance, I've got a big shield up on my lance. It's also one that has a barrier, so I basically get 345 damage for free and start recharging it. And so if I make it so that there's a direct line between the tank and the enemy unit, in addition to my own units attacking the one with the sniper rifle, his own unit winds up smacking him in the back. The Behemoth, I really just want to try and get something off on the missile launcher, but in reality, I think the Sleipnir is going to be the one that's really knocking this thing on its, on its back and trying to keep it from launching missiles as much as possible. And then the Hermes is kind of doing whatever damage it can, but the majority of the turn was really spent trying to deal with it. Actually, I got to be a little more careful. So that they are still going to get a shot off. Right, I thought I think I was under the impression I was going to send my Sleipnir to deal with this guy, so I might want to change my approach a little bit. If I sneak behind the building again. I'm really pushing that into the next turn, so... Yeah, see, the problem is the tank's actually doing exactly what it's supposed to, which is keeping my Hermes from being able to do damage to its ally. But I don't really know if I want to... I really don't think I can justify taking damage recklessly like that. So... let's see how it goes. I think I'm going to do it at normal time until I speed it down. I'm going to slow it down. Sorry, speed it down. I'm going to slow it down to see what happens with the friendly fire. All right, well, that was pretty straightforward. That was also a hit on the back. That's great. Okay, this isn't too much of a worry. Try and move it in a little closer. You can see what's going on in the background. So a little bit of barrier damage on the Sleipnir. Nothing permanent yet. Okay, we broke through the barrier for them as well. That's a pretty respectable amount of damage that we did to the sniper. In fact, if we can take out their right... Oh no, they'll just use their heavy handgun in that case. Okay, I was really not expecting that tank to go up that quickly. So I got a number of things to consider. So number one, I didn't really talk about what kind of missile launcher we're up against. So this is a slug. In fact, I don't know if I can bring up the... are you sure you'd like to follow the link to our forum? Oh, I don't want the forums. Or no, I guess I have to if it's the... Oh no, it's not like Industries of Titan. Wonder if the patch notes... Brace Yourself website, Phantom Brigade is available now in early access on the Epic Game Store for Steam users. The game is scheduled to come out next year on Steam. Okay. So sometime, I'm assuming that's sometime 2021. I believe that might be the same with Industries of Titan, where they say it comes out sometime next year. Although I don't know if that's out of early access or just onto Steam. So, but it does sound like that's a little bit closer to... Thanks for looking that up, Aperture Science, because I never... Like, obviously, I'd like everybody to play this game. Frankly, I'd love it if more people streamed this game. But I also don't want to be somebody who's creating expectations for when a game's going to be coming out on a certain platform, because I have a feeling that that doesn't really translate into disappointment with me. That translates with disappointment with the game, which is the last thing I want to have happen. Okay, so... I have a little bit of a dance to do, but if I can get a shotgun to the back Oh, that sniper. That's a big win for me. Okay, so running for one of those. If I can do it a little earlier. So I'm trying to think about when I can get my shield up in time. The seconds really count on this one. Okay. So technically the shield's not quite ready at that point, but I think I'm willing to risk that particular one. It's mostly just because if I can take out the arm, I'm in a really good position. And here I'll just throw the shield up and focus on the... Oh, but I should take into account the fact that this unit is going to be shooting me. So I'm going to be taking a sniper rifle, taking a sniper shot to the back. All right, I think we need some assistance here. Okay, I mean it's kind of a remote chance that this'll work, but I want to take the opportunity if I can. So we've got 2-on-2 on this side. Does anybody want to hurt the Sleipnir? Not really. So what is this unit going to do? Actually, this unit's doing nothing this turn. So first thing I'm going to do is I'll move the Sleipnir. I'm going to move him around, and so this is just an early hit on the, well, as early as I can manage, hit on the tank. Now, I'm doing something that I don't normally do here, and that's doing an attack that crosses over into the next turn. The reason I'm doing that in this case is, again, every turn that I keep this thing on the ground, like if I can get this thing knocked down at the start of the next turn, then that means that's another turn where I don't need to worry about the missile. So the reason why I wanted to go to the roadmap and see, in the patch notes they explain what the enemy weapons are. The slug, I believe, is a fairly potent little missile. So let's see. Well, I guess one thing I can do is just get a read from the. So it's 800 damage on a hit. So here's what I'm going to do. This thing's already launched, and I will do slow motion just so we can see what it is. I would ideally actually like to hold the time a bit longer because I mean, let's face it, the slug name sort of suggests that this will take a while. However, there is going to be a tank that's shooting at me. So I can allow a little bit of time for the projectiles to move, but I'm actually a bit more worried about any shrapnel that's coming from the autocannon, especially if the slug's going to be coming in. A little bit of weakness in the barrier all of a sudden means I'm losing body parts to the missile. So waiting as long as I can, and then dashing is kind of the way that you get out of trouble with missiles. So I'm going to do a mighty escape down onto the ground. And then maybe just kind of run over to the side. It'd be nice if I can get a shot off before the end of the turn. You're so lost with what's going on. Don't stop now, but next main phase or turn, please, a little explanation about how combat evolves. Absolutely. So actually, the one thing I will say, Splicer, because I'm just working through, like, I'm experimenting a little bit with my turns right now. One of the reasons why I'm not so good at explaining all of my thoughts when I'm sort of in the middle of combat is I tend to experiment. Like, I sort of iterate over a few different ideas, and then I make adjustments, like little tweaks. And it's usually in that tweaking period when I know exactly what I want to do that the turn like really happens. But one thing I can tell you that will probably make this make a lot more sense is that the kind of the story for this game is that, or the lore, or whatever you want to, however you want to term it. In this game, the Phantom Brigade has sort of this artificial intelligence that will allow them to have knowledge of their enemy's actions 5 seconds into the future. And so what I'm seeing here, a little bit like Into the Breach, is perfect knowledge of what enemy actions are going to be. And so what I'm essentially doing right now is taking the information of what the enemy is about to do, and I'm either reacting to it or I'm coming up with my best replies. And oddly enough, I think I might be done with my plans. So now wouldn't actually be a bad time for me to recap what's going on. So if you've ever edited a video, you've probably used a timeline like this, and you have your different tracks and you've moved your clips on it. But if you have an edited video, that analogy makes no sense whatever. Like how you compared to Into the Breach. Into the Breach is a wonderful game, and I think it's like they are different because in the case of Phantom Brigade, everything happens simultaneously. So if an enemy unit is shooting at you and you're shooting at them, the projectiles are basically going to be, both of them are going to wind up hitting your own people. Whereas a lot of the strategy in Into the Breach is built around the fact that that your unit might be moving before an enemy unit. So if you're able to knock them into a certain location, their attack's going to wind up going somewhere else, and so on and so forth. So it's not like the analogy is not a perfect one, but I think probably the tactical decisions that you're making are probably best compared to a game like Into the Breach. So let's think a little bit about what the enemy is doing right now. Number one, we've got an enemy mech with a sniper rifle. It's relatively weak. So it's got 51 health on its right arm. Now, if we take out the right arm, it's still probably just going to use its sidearm. So it's not that big of a deal, but I'm sort of seeing this opportunity to hit it, particularly because its back is going to be facing me. And so if I can do back damage to its back, you can do concussive damage to the pilot. Battletech fans will probably recognize this because Battletech also has concussive damage. You can do damage to the occupants of the mech as opposed to the mech itself, and if you knock out the occupant, then there's nothing left to pilot the mech. But in this case here, it's 24 out of I think 100 for concussion, so it's pretty unlikely that we're gonna take out this pilot. But I mean, again, there is scrap in the game, so if you can do a lot of concussive damage, more power to you. I should actually be looking into those strategies. Another thing that's happening right now is there's a tank. It's a fresh tank, so it hasn't taken any damage, which you can see in these gray bars here. There is location-based damage. And so far as I can tell, all of the projectiles in the game and the building damage and such is simulated. So one thing I'm hoping you will see at some point is this missile is hopefully going to miss my behemoth, but if it hits the side of a building, you are going to see like parts of the building fall off, and that can be pretty spectacular, especially when you've got like an enemy like firing a cluster of missiles at you. That can lead to some very photogenic moments, or telegenic, I suppose. Anyways, so there's this fresh tank. The cannon is more of a long-range weapon, so there are optimal ranges for different weapons. You can usually see that communicated by the ring that's moving around your unit. Sometimes you can ignore it, because like what it's really doing is it's affecting the probability of a hit. So, if you've got let's say you've got a sniper rifle, it's going to fire one shot, and you're sprinting down a field, and you're trying to hit something from like 10 kilometers away. The likelihood that you are actually going to make that shot is, I I'm sure there's like some small probability, but you wouldn't bank on it, right? If you're standing still and you know exactly where somebody's going to be, and you know it's maybe 50 meters away, you're probably, you know, you're probably pretty pretty sure of hitting it. I mean, I probably would miss it, but you know, if you're a trained mech pilot, I'm sure you'll have an easier time. So this unit here, its attacks are probably not that threatening in the sense that they're kind of close to the, you know, like everything's sort of close, and they are firing on my heavier mech. But again, I want to try and mitigate whatever damage I can. So the way that I'm handling this side of the battlefield is I'm taking my heaviest mech, which has got a shield. It's holding up the shield to deal with the incoming fire. It's going to take its shotgun, which has a pretty respectable amount of concussive damage. And more importantly, just does a reasonable amount of damage. So a full volley does 1,404 damage. And I'm using that on the sniper just because it's sort of the weak mech, and if I can take a piece off the board, that makes things a little bit easier for me. The cost to that is that this tank isn't going away. It's also going to be firing on my unit. So what I'm doing after I deal with the sniper, I'm turning my attention to the tank, and I'm basically just sticking my shield up and blocking the incoming fire. The drawback is that there is a sniper shot, and it is admittedly at close range, but like bullets are still bullets, and they are going to hurt. And so what I'm doing is, for reinforcements, I'm bringing in another mech that I've made called the Hermes. By the way, this game uses a bunch of Nordic mythology, but I know kind of the Greek and Roman gods a lot better. So, although Behemoth is obviously not from that region. So like my mech names are completely inappropriate for the, you know, the style of this game, but I'm working with what I know, right? So I did one batch of attacks on the tank as I was moving into position, and then the Hermes, which is my fastest moving unit, is basically spending the rest of the turn firing on this sniper. This is more of an insurance policy because if I take out the right arm, it still has a sidearm, a heavy handgun. It's very unlikely that the pilot's going to eject. And so essentially I just want to have another unit to sort of support and ensure that this thing is taken out. And the whole idea here is that if I can eliminate these two units, then it means that I only have 2 units remaining on this side to complete the battle. So I do have a melee unit. It's called the Sleipnir. So basically what I'm doing with this one, there is a tank. Now this tank is a little bit different than its ally on this side of the map. The cannon is a long-range weapon. It does a fairly large amount of damage. The autocannon, in a short interval, the autocannon fires for a long period of time, and it does a lot of damage in short range, but in long range it's pretty much useless. So what it's doing right now is it's sort of spraying bullets at the Behemoth, which is sort of my sniper unit, which is currently sitting on the top of a building to get shots off on this enemy mech. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the opportunity with my Sleipnir to sort of run around the side of the hill. It's going to jet up the side, and then it's going to use its primary weapon, the big sword that it's carrying. And I will do it in slow motion because it looks super cool. It's going to hit it. One of the really nice things about the Sleipnir's primary weapon, at least the way that I built it... Oh, this is a big problem with my turn. I'm going to have to revise this. I'll explain that in a minute. Basically, this primary weapon, which I think I need to get the description in the... Yeah, I believe I'd have to do this description in the mech builder. But basically, this particular weapon is strong enough that it will automatically crash anything that it comes into contact with. And so one nice sort of side effect of that is I'm able to sort of take out enemy threats pretty quickly and pretty effectively. So I'm going to adjust my approach here. So again, it's still the same idea. I'm choosing to hit this tank, one, because it's fresh right now, number two, because it's going to be firing on the Behemoth, and if I can cut that out, it's just a chance for me to, you know, to minimize the number of projectiles running around the battlefield. What I really want to do this turn, though, is sort of run around the edge. Not crazy about that, because that's probably going to turn into friendly fire. So Just get myself off to the side. What I really wanted to do here is set myself up for an attack which is going to be realized next turn. But it does look that like this unit's moving so fast that I actually trip over the enemy. So once more with feeling. So the one drawback here is that the Sleipnir moves very quickly because it's a light mech. But light mechs are, like, because there's different weight classes. Let me give you an example here. With this lance, it's a heavy, it's a class 3. If I put my shield up and then just go charging into an enemy tank, it's basic, like, heavy tanks can basically, like, pick up a, or sorry, heavy mechs can basically, like, pick up a tank and kick a field goal with them. Not really, that would be kind of awesome if they'd include that inside of the game. But one viable strategy is just to slam down your shield and, like, charge into a tank to make it crash. If you try and do that with a light mech, like the Sleipnir, it trips over the tank and you can't move it for a long period of time. So what I noticed there, you'll see the like yellow explosions. This one is fine because this is being motivated by a melee attack. But what I was doing originally was walking around the tank, and it was giving me a warning that I would be that I'd have a collision. And I know if I have a collision, my light mech is gonna be worse off for it. So again, the whole plan for this round was to set up a melee strike. And again, remembering that this melee attack will automatically crash whatever it encounters. The idea here is that this enemy mech, which fires a pretty powerful missile, is not doing anything this turn. And so if I can make it so that at the very start of the next turn, it gets hit with this melee strike, that means that whatever turn it was planning is sort of invalidated, and so I get another turn where I don't need to deal with the missile. So then there's the final problem, which is, okay, but there's a very powerful missile which has already been fired and is on the way to the behemoth. What are we doing about that? Well, what I'm doing, first of all, is I'm just waiting, because I would like, ideally, the missile to sort of close its options. If I just run away right away, it's got plenty of sort of space to kind of course correct. Although I think the slug is not the best at tracking enemy units. I'm still not 100% sure on how they work. So what I'm doing here is I'm sort of waiting things out, and just before the enemy tank starts firing its guns, I'm now using my dash. So we're going to fly down onto the ground, and then we're going to sort of do a hard turn around the edge. And then I'm going to sort of take the opportunity to get a sort of a pot shot on the enemy unit, but that may not actually be all that effective. But the hope here is that we're going to be able to dodge this missile as a result of the dash, and then sort of moving in a slightly erratic pattern. Under my clips, if you look for, I think it's called Rocket League. It's from a few weeks ago. You can actually see a pretty fun moment where one of my mechs did a good job of escaping. So I'm sure that didn't really clarify a lot, because, you know, I'm now explaining all of this stuff that I've already decided on with mechanics that haven't been fully explained yet. But we're going to see, this is the real payoff for the game, is that when you hit the execute button, you can see it all happen. And you can hit the space bar to make it go slow motion, which we are going to do because I really want to see how some of these dodges and such turn out. So we'll start further back. And then when the time comes for the behemoth to move out of the way, I'll move in on them. So, hitting the shield. So you can sort of see the missile already on its way to the behemoth. So shield goes down. My lance is already on their way to deal with the enemy, but we'll have to leave that. Well, we'll just change the perspective. I won't get in quite close yet. So there's a Sleipnir getting ready to do its melee attack. I should actually probably zoom in a little closer for this. So those attacks are all to the enemies on the other side. Alright, the attack animation didn't quite go off, but as you can see, the missile's struggling with the movement that just happened. You get rewarded with a nice little explosion. But as you can see, this thing's crashing here. Now we're going to see how the rest of the turn was playing out. So they lost their right arm. Looks like they lost their lower legs as well. So we are going to be doing some more damage to them at the end of the turn. This unit's probably dead. But right now I'm trying to protect myself from the tank here. Nobody else is going to be doing any damage. And where this is probably going to end is the Hermes. Hermes finishing off this unit. Alright, so that one's done. It actually looks like we did a fair amount of damage. So, the one thing I'm a little worried about is whether or not the Sleipnir gets hit with friendly fire. Now, as an overall strategy, everything is working the way that we were planning on. So, 3 units are now done. This means there's 2 enemy units on the board against our 4. What I'm going to do, my Lance is a very slow-moving unit, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to dedicate that unit towards dealing with this tank. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take advantage of the fact that the Hermes is such a fast-moving unit. I'm going to run them across the battlefield and deal with the remainder on the other side here. So there will be sort of a full replay that is implemented later on in the game. That's a really commonly requested feature, and I believe that was part of the original plan for the game, but it's obviously not the thing. It's not the first thing you want to put in, right? You usually want to be able to build cool things for your mechs to do, and then the ability to replay it, rather than not have anything cool for your mechs to do, and then, the ability to replay the nothing that happened. But to give you the idea here, this is what happened to the building from that stray slug missile. Okay, so we're actually looking pretty good on this enemy unit, and as you can see here, this whole idea of getting the Sleipnir to come in with an early attack on the enemy, this is going to pay. This is going to pay off because they fire their next missile at 0.1 seconds. So if I had started the attack at the beginning of the turn, there's no way I'd be taking them out. What's going to be happening at the very start, though, is that, they're already winding up the attack. They're going to knock them on their feet, or on their back. They're already on their feet. Sorry, it's been a tough day. We take them out. There's nothing for me to worry about from that unit. They would have been attacking the behemoth again. Apparently they just really like the other sniper missile unit, but it's not something I'm concerned with. Once the attack is finished, I'm going to move the Sleipnir behind cover. So taking a look, I should be explaining how the game works. So we know that we get to have perfect information of what the enemy units are doing. So units are split into 5 seconds. The enemy tank is going to finish crashing for the first second. It's going to attack. So there are some moves that will basically take all of your attention. So something like a dash you can't fire during. But usually you could do something like fire and move. So in the case here, once it's done crashing, it's going to fire, it's going to drive, and then at the end of the turn, it's going to fire. And it looks like all of those attacks are dedicated to the Sleipnir. So one of the things I can do to help myself out, the Sleipnir is already committed, so I can't do anything to change this attack. This is happening no matter what. But now that I know the enemy tank is going to be coming after them, what I can do is I can actually move behind the building. One really sneaky thing I could try and do is work out, so it's like if the body is going to be like here, try and make it so that the angle is such that maybe some stray bullets are going to hit the prone enemy mech, but I don't think I'm that lucky. So I'm just going to set myself up behind a building. Again, as you can see, buildings can be damaged, so if you get too reliant on hiding behind a building, that building will be destroyed and you'll be without cover. But right now, We're going to knock out the missile platform and put ourselves into safety. The good news about that, though, is that that means that there's really only one hostile enemy for the rest of my team to be dealing with for the rest of this turn. So the question for me is, do I want to take the behemoth and fire some shots at the, at the prone missile platform, or do I want to take out the, do I want to try and take out the autocannon before it becomes a problem for me? The remaining unit, of course, is the tank here, and I more or less kind of have my marching orders on that one. I'm going to keep my shield up. As soon as I'm free, I'll just blast a shotgun it to the enemy unit, and I know that they're going to be firing on the Hermes. So either I want to crash it, or I want to do whatever I can to basically make sure that this thing isn't up and firing its weapons for that much longer. So in this case, I'm waiting it out. You will have more stability in your shots if you're standing while firing. I'm sure that doesn't require any explanation. And then, I'm just trying to move in a little bit closer for my next shot. As you can see on the right here, attacks do generate heat. This is, again, very similar to Battletech. And so while it would be nice for me to just sort of pretend that I have an automatic shotgun, that's not happening. But the nice thing is, again, it's a little bit like editing videos. So you can take an action and you can move that further in the timeline. So one thing I do like to do, though, is just kind of rough out where it's going to be. And I just want to make sure that's close enough to the optimal distance. I'm sure I probably could have worked that a little bit better, but it's it's a shotgun. I mean, these things aren't exactly known as the sort of weapon that you use for highly precise attacks. That's actually probably not a good place for me to move them. Okay, so I need to be a little bit careful in terms of how I move the Hermes, because there is that attack that's coming in on them, but I think there are ways that I can make life simple for myself. So first thing I want to do is avoid colliding with my heavy mech. Obviously, the heavy mech wins that right-of-way battle. So as you can see here, I've moved the Hermes. Again, this is so it's a super skinny mech. It really does not have a lot of damage that it can take anywhere, particularly in the legs. And of course, if you shoot out the legs, then it loses its speed advantage. But it's the fastest unit that I have in my force. So I'm basically able to sort of move around my heavy. I get behind this building. The building doesn't even matter. It's more the fact they're going to be shooting into the side of the hill. And then what I can do there is I can try and say, well, maybe I just want to move in closer and see how much damage I can do to the enemy unit on the ground there. I think I'm gonna risk this. There's the possibility that they might get a couple of shots off on me while they're moving over the edge, but I think it's probably better for me to try and get involved in the fight as early as possible. So the thing here is that the attack ring, like this is the optimal range, right? They're suggestions though. Like they absolutely they're not set in stone. You can really try and attack whatever you want. The real risk is that you wind up using heat for something that would have been a better opportunity later. So in this case here, I'm just kind of anticipating that the enemy unit's going to be lying on the ground. Sure, maybe only half of the bullets hit, if that, but that's 300 damage that I'm doing that wouldn't have otherwise happened. So this unit, this is really more about getting the Hermes, first of all, out of danger, second of all, involved in the battle here. So the remaining unit that hasn't been accounted for yet is the Behemoth. So the Behemoth is not under attack because the Sleipnir is already taken. So this is the important thing, right? There is sometimes a way that I'm going to be deciding what order I'm going to be moving my mechs, and that's not because the game has forced that order on me, but it's because each mech plays a certain role in terms of what my overall approach to that turn is going to be. By being able to take out this unit that's going to fire a missile, I now have a free unit with a sniper rifle to do whatever I want to the enemy. And in this case here, I've decided I'm going to take out the enemy tank, and that's really just so that I can free up space for the rest of my team when the time comes. Or ideally, it would. Looks like that might be a little close at the end of the turn. Okay, so I'm gonna have to adjust this a little bit. So we will... So I'll stand still for the attack. It's really important for sniper rifles. And one thing I don't like here is that this is going to push me into the next turn. So the thing here is that one of the advantages that the Phantom Brigade has is that they know what their enemy is going to do 5 seconds in advance. Because this attack is rolling over into after 5 seconds, there might be something that is happening in the next turn that would make me not want to be doing that action. And when you're doing things like dashing, or when you're doing things like melee attacks, this can be a really big problem. Like if I'm doing a melee attack into the middle of a bunch of autocannon tanks, let's say, it could be that all of those autocannon tanks decide to focus their attention on that unit that just kind of came into range, and if it's my Sleipnir, it can't take a whole lot of damage. So those sorts of things are the problem. I feel okay doing it in this case, though, because in the end, if this tank doesn't fall at the very, this turn, at the very least, I know this particular sniper unit is really only going to be firing at one of two enemies. It's either this unit or this unit. So, in the end, whatever I'm committing myself to for the next turn, it's really a coin toss. I don't feel quite as bad about that. So I'll try on this one to do it at full speed. It always feels a little weird to do that. No, sorry. I did say melee attacks look cool, so I will do it in slow-mo just so you can see the melee attack come through. But I'll try and do one round in full speed just because at this point the game seems very dreamlike because I'm always doing it in slow motion. But did we just take that thing out? Oh my god. Okay, so this thing's going to crash out. The threat to the Hermes is removed. We'll try and see if we can get the second shot before the sniper shot happens. Okay, it's not done yet. So as you can see, Sleipnir's safe. Sniper fire's coming down on the enemy unit. We missed that one. So we're going to have to wait a little while for the next shot. Oh, sorry, I missed one. Alright, that unit's gone up as well. I picked all the wrong moments to show the dramatic events. So we'll speed it up. All right, and they've decided to surrender. So in this case, they're sort of committing to the rest of their action, which was to to fire on the Sleipnir. They move around a little bit. They surrender, which is going to cross over into the next turn. I'm still going to be finishing the sniper movement. Now, one thing I can do to try and make it so that we don't destroy the surrendering unit, as I can move while I'm firing, which is going to make me less accurate overall. I still don't give this guy a very high probability of survival, but I mean, at this point here, there's really only one more unit. So in this case, we'll just execute. We'll keep everybody in place, and we'll see how it turns out. Hey, he made it. We might have to wait for the next turn for the thing to surrender, though. Cool. Victory. All hostiles eliminated. Site under control. Is it bad to kill the surrendering unit? Morally, it's terrible. So the game doesn't punish you for it, ostensibly, but it is important to remember that if there are intact units, you will get more scrap from them than if it's destroyed. And I definitely have a very heavy-handed approach towards enemy units. So I am using a lot of very old equipment, and that's largely because the scrap that I've been picking up has not quite been of the quality that I want to replace. So you know, like that's, so far as I can tell, like it is worth mentioning, you know, there's nothing to say that may not be changed later on in the game. There is so the strategic level of the game is a little bit like XCOM 2. You've got a mobile base and you're going to go from mission to mission. The Phantom Brigade is sort of this insurgency after an invasion of their home country, it looks like. And the game does have like a fatigue system. It has sort of hope, so you will recover regions by getting the hope up to a certain level. And they do add these little story events inside of the game. So, for instance, this is a couple of updates ago. They added sort of this power outage event where you're going through a region where you'd recently fought a battle, and one of the civilians kind of comes up and says, "Hey, did you happen to notice those power outlets or those power lines in the middle of your battle?" And like one of your pilots is like, "Yeah, that's my bad. I shot the thing up." And you completely have the option of saying, it's like, "Bah, this is your problem. Go fix it yourself." But it will cause the hope for the region to go down. So then, of course, that invites the question: well, why wouldn't you be a nice person and do the thing that will help people out? Well, what that does is that takes up time, and they've been introducing things in the game where there will be enemy units that go out and lay siege to one of the settlements that you have that you've liberated. And so you may be faced with this tough decision about how much time you want to spend on collecting scrap, how much time you want to spend dealing with the negative consequences of your actions. I would not consider it inconsistent with the game that if you have a tendency to shoot surrendering units, that the game starts, having little event. Again, like it's not in the game, but one thing that could potentially happen is that if you sort of show yourself to be a particularly vicious combatant, it may cause the population to wonder if you are really any better than the occupying forces, and there may be some events that come up that cause you to do that. So, that's maybe a way that the game could unpack that idea a little bit. But right now, it's more about loadouts. But to your other question, unit customization and loadouts, I'll actually give you a chance to see exactly what that screen looks like. But it's going to take me a little while to get the loot that we've already gotten here. So there's 2 breakdowns. Game gives you some stats about how the battle went. So. It was a 20-second battle in real time. 867 damage taken by our side, 9,436 damage inflicted, no units lost, no subsystems detected on site, 63 actions planned, 822 meters traveled, 4 units destroyed, no parts on site, 212 supplies, and a partridge in a pear tree. So you can do the loot breakdown. So this will be what it looks like for each of the individual units that you took out. Although, amusingly, it says that there were 5 units. So... oh, right, but we destroyed 4 units and one of them surrendered. That's why that's saying that. So, no salvage parts or subsystems. Some supplies were recovered from debris. Note, avoid fully destroying enemy units to increase chances of recovering valuable equipment. Concussing enemy pilots with attacks from the back or forcing them to eject by destroying the weapons can be useful to that end. Again, similar story with this tank here, completely destroyed, no salvaged items. This unit was destroyed, but in this case there was some equipment salvaged. So in this case it was the heavy handgun. I'm almost certainly not going to use it, but it's nice to know that we got something out of it. And then finally, this tank. Wait a minute. Should make a note on this, because definitely that tank survived, but it's being listed as destroyed. I mean, it's not a major bug, but it's probably something I should report. What's probably a little bit more helpful is when you take a look at the inventory breakdown. So in this case, it was really only 1 item on the battlefield. It's a common gun, so I'm probably not going to use it. But you get the option to salvage. That's going to take 6 hours, but I'm also going to be doing some restored. Oh, it's listed as intact. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. I was looking at the big red. Okay, that was my mistake. I was looking at the big red text, not the other details. So yeah, sorry, you guys have got it right. Like I said, I'm totally I'm out to lunch. All right. Ransacked facility. This is one of those stories events that I was talking about. Ransacked facility. Your base stops near a civilian facility. There are tons of workers gathered outside looking distressed. You and your pilot approach one of them. What's the problem here? Your pilot asks. There's a base with soldiers not far from here, one woman tells you. Those soldiers have taken almost all our supplies. We've lost so many days of work. You look at the broken windows of the factories, the tank tracks and the dirt. They have clearly been taking them by force. Will you help us? Please. We'll have to shut down the whole factory without our stuff. So we've got two options. We can recover the supplies. You can't let them get away with this. Find the military base responsible and take back the supplies. Or ignore. One facility isn't worth it, and this results in the lost hope. So we will recover the supplies. Ransack facility. Everyone is overjoyed when they see your pilots unloading the supplies from the back of the base. The woman you spoke to the last time comes out to speak to you again. Thank you so much, she says. Now we can get back to work. I'm sure you will be able to provide you with equipment too once we're back up and running. So, here's an important thing. This doesn't normally happen. I believe what happened here, for those of you who were here last week, you may remember I said, that's funny. It gave us an event that said that we recovered supplies from a military base, but I don't remember getting that event. I think what happened here is that we got the supplies from the military base in the other province, and we've been holding it so we've done this event in reverse. I suspect that's what's happening here. Anyways, good for me. We've got 200 supply, 10 hope. One other factor that I should mention as well, there is fatigue in this game. So in this particular case here, this used to work a little bit differently, but basically positive numbers mean that your units are a little bit more combat ready, and negative numbers mean that your units are getting more tired. So I have a tendency to keep my A team together. There's one pilot that's been with us on every single battle. So in this case, 95 combat encounters. Lars Jacobson does not get a rest. We had to leave. Oh, sorry. That's not true. It's Tango. Tango's the one who's our mask. I thought it was a woman who is the A team. It's 101 encounters. We got a couple who've been with us for 95. A couple of them had to be relieved just because of the like getting concussed during a battle and such. But one of the other things you normally want to take care of in terms of time, if you take time, you're able to get your fatigue back, but the enemy's not just going to sit around waiting for you to be able to take them out. Anyways, let me get back to the world. The Lance is the only one that needs repair, and we've got 6 hours to salvage, so I'll hit play. While I'm at it, this is the strategic map. Use your middle mouse button to tilt the camera. So far as I can tell, now again, I've not completed the game yet, so there might be a surprise. But the objective right now is the capital city, and the game has told us that in order to attack the capital city, which is already a much higher level than what we're at, you need to get the surrounding districts. So we've already claimed 2 of them. We're on our way to claiming our 3rd, and when the time comes, we'll make our move. Here's that event I was talking about. Lights out. You and your squad are celebrating your victory when a man in a boiler suit approaches the base looking sheepish. We can't tell you how grateful we are, he says. He clears his throat. Not to trouble you further, when you were battling, you didn't happen to notice one of our power lines being severed or something, did you? Ain't nobody's got any electricity. Now it's your squad's turn to be embarrassed. One of your pilots turns to you, red-faced. I think that might have been me, actually, he says, turning to you. Mistimed a shot. If you give me a few hours, though, I'm pretty sure I could fix it. So you have a few options to this one. Supply tools. Give them the tools to fix it. Surely someone here is an electrician. So that's -5 hope, -100 supply. The state of the game right now, I'll be honest, I generate lots and lots of supply, and I'm really not sure what to do with it. I have more supply than I really need. Now, to be fair, with Industries of Titan, I was saying that about credits, and then they introduced the 1.0 of population simulation, and all of a sudden credits were the most important thing for me. So, you know, that's easy for me to say, but I suspect it's going to require exactly one patch for me to suddenly feel like I'm really strapped for supply. The next thing you can do is ignore. So they'll have to fix it themselves. Collateral damage is inevitable. That'll result in minus 15 hope. So as a net, we would be at So one thing to keep in mind, right, is that we've already returned the supplies to that manufactory. So in truth, if I were to supply them tools, we'd still have a net plus 5 hope as a result of that individual battle. Oh, thanks, Aperture Science. Yeah, you know, the really bad thing is I'm not always great with the bug reports, but I've been delighted by the number of people who are coming into chat and like clipping things and sending them in to praise yourself. So I do get to feel like I'm at least still somewhat helping when I'm not disciplined with my bug reporting. It's hard though, right? Because I know I spend a lot of time talking about stuff that's not the game on stream already, so I don't want to spend too much time filling bug reports, especially too because it gives a perception that like the game is less playable than it really is. So, anyways. The last option that we have is to fix the mistake. Let your pilot fix his mistake. It's only right. So in this case, we lose 4 hours. It also raises our fatigue by 20. That's particularly bad because we're already, we're already doing pretty, like, it's getting pretty heavy on my A team. And we're going to be in a fight reasonably soon. But we also get plus 10 hope. So in this case here, I'm still going to do it. I usually just like being the good guy anyway. So we'll wait it out. There aren't any sieges that are going to be happening, so yeah. Oh, wow, they're really piling on the events. The rain outside hasn't let up for hours. Luckily, the mobile base's wheels are able to deal with the thick mud of the country roads. Not everyone is so well equipped, though, and you come across a tractor that has gotten itself stuck. The woman driving it is splattered in mud and looks exhausted. Please, she says, as the base stops, will you lend a hand? So, here's one thing that I'm not 100% sure about in terms of the strategic level of the game. There's really no reason for me to not to help this civilian, because these are these things happen concurrently, not consecutively. So if I said, help push, and that was sticking another 6 hours on top of the repairs that I'm already doing, I might give that a second thought. In reality, what's happening here is I'm going to be taking the time anyway. In fact, what I'm going to do here is help push. It is going to extend my time where I'm sitting still, but that's not that bad because I'm already going to have the fatigue problems from fixing the power lines. So at the very least here, I can give my people a little bit of a break. So we've got 2.5 hours left on the power lines. We'll have the 6 hours on recovery. Just to give you an idea, it's actually not a bad idea to see how these things work. So Golf Tango India Lima, these Golf is +7, but these are at +20. The A team's currently at -13. We'll see what happens in 139. So I'd expect them to be about -30 at the end of the power lines event. Power move. Your pilot roped in the rest of the squad to help, and they carefully reconnect the power lines. After a few grueling hours, the sound of electricity whirring back to life reaches them. The man who reported the problem comes out of his house looking very pleased indeed. Thank you, he says. It would have been a lot harder for us to fix without those mech suits. It's our fault. It was only right that we fixed it, your pilot says. We'll be singing the Brigade's praises, that's for sure, he says, and he hands you some bottles of cold beverages. These are a small token of our appreciation. Your crew, frazzled but triumphant from their electrical work, are more than happy to take them. Okay, so let's just get a quick read on the consequences of what happened there. Oh, that's interesting. I thought the fatigue would be worse than it is. It's almost like it didn't happen. Well, I'm not going to complain. So we'll see what happens at the end of the... Oh, Rebel forces located Province 11, dispatching an assault squad from 12. Oh my god, that's level 16. I'm going to try pushing in on Stygut but I'll probably have to double back and protect something in Bjorn. Okay, broken free. With one final push, you hear a wet sucking sound. A call from the woman tells you that the tractor is free at long last. Both she and the pilots are more than ready to be on their way. She thanks you profusely for helping. So that was something of a blitz of story events. They don't normally stack on like that. But in this case, let's go to the manufactory cache raid. It's most likely containing parts, subsystems, or supplies. It's only possible to secure the equipment and escape without eliminating... it's often possible to secure the equipment and escape without eliminating all the guards. So we're going to move on this one. I am going to be very nervous at the prospect of salvaging this area, because depending on where this attack squad heads, I might have to, to make a pretty quick... response, and again, it's a high-level group. On the other hand, though, I do think I need to have better gear if I'm going to be taking on a level 16 squad. So I'm committing to this, but this might get a little scary. Defended. Your recon says that the place is defended. You'll need to take it by force if you want anything out of here. Suit up. Okay. So, sorry for the weight splicer. Let's talk about unit customization. Actually, I can do that from the briefing window. So let's start by looking at my Hermes. So if I go to edit unit, you've got, so there's two layers to the customization unit. You've got livery to make your units look fancy, and then you've got the parts which are related to your the items that you've picked up. So one helpful thing that they've added inside of the game is you'll have like a little white triangle in the bottom corner of for the parts that are new. As you can see, I have lots of individual parts, so I won't spend too much time going into the specifics. But if there's something that you'd like to know, definitely ask, because I'm happy to like. I think it's probably better if I can point to individual things of interest as opposed to try to give a generalized view. When there aren't any parts that I'm likely to want to use. The big problem right now is that it's a gray heavy handgun that I've found. Right now, I'm using the fire starter, which is also gray. It's 305 damage in a volley. Well, this is 398. It's a slightly longer time. Okay, but no, I can't equip this this pistol for a very simple reason. My existing pistol fires 2 shots over 1.4 seconds. The optimal range is 24 to 36. So the reason why I chose this heavy pistol over the alternatives was my assault rifle. So this assault rifle has got a range of 33 to 54. So wait a minute. Nope, yeah, that's the right one. I should double check to make sure that I don't have a better assault rifle. But so in this case here, for the cases where the assault rifle is like I'm a little bit too close to the enemy, the idea is that I take out my sidearm, the fire starter, and because its optimal range is 24, that gives me just a little bit of extra power. So the idea here is that there's really only about 3 meters of overlap between the range. So the effective range of my unit is basically 24 to 54. Although in practice, the handgun is going to be doing 305 damage. The rifle is going to be doing 678. Clearly, the rifle is the preferred weapon for most situations. Let's say I wanted to just make sure that this was the best assault rifle that I could be using, there is a filtering option. So let's say I'm not crazy about the machine guns, at least for this unit. So there's the AR-1. So why didn't I like that one? I seem to remember there was a pretty good reason for it, but... Oh, really? They're going to force me to... Yeah, there we go. Right, it didn't do that much damage. Okay, yeah, I remember exactly what the problem was. So the AR-1, like, in some cases looks better. Problem here is that it generates more heat, takes longer to fire, deals less damage, and over 13 shots. So the thing is that there's more opportunities for it to miss. There's fewer opportunities for me to fire it. and the net effect of a full, like, of all 13 shots hitting is less than the 5 hitting on my my AR2. So in this case here, it doesn't really make that much sense for me to use this assault rifle by comparison. Other factors that are at play for this this particular unit, I've tried to equip it so that it's got some fairly decent heat dissipation, but really what I've done is I've tried to make sure that it's light and as highly powered as possible so that it can have a very high speed. This unit has a speed of 28, and by comparison, our big bruiser, the Lance, has got a speed of 15. So it's almost twice the speed of my my heavy unit here. So realistically, we didn't get all that much in terms of new weaponry, so I'm not going to do that much customization. But I'll hopefully that's kind of give you like, as you can see in these lists, I have got a lot of parts, and there's any number of different combinations that I could be running. The thing is that I've got a little bit of a rhythm going with my fairly low level mechs. And so until I start finding that the challenges I'm facing are just too tough, I'm a little bit more inclined to stick with some of my older weaponry, because I know that being able to combine my units in towards certain outcomes is maybe a little bit more effective than having sort of a team of really high level units that are using abilities that I'm not quite as comfortable with. So let's see what we are up against. This will probably be the last battle for tonight, but you never know. IFF response negative. Treating as hostile, requesting immediate reinforcements. So this one we can take the objectives and run. Reinforcements are arriving on turn 4. And I didn't read how many enemy units we're dealing with, but it looks pretty sparse. I think this is one of the new maps too. I seem to remember we had a couple of fun rounds where we ran into the... Yeah, that's right, because the last time we did this, I feel like the map was turned this way. I really like... So Battletech did this. The number of maps was relatively small when the game first came out. I'm talking about Battletech. But you didn't notice, because the like being able to just turn the map 90 degrees and just having different units on it really made it feel like there was a lot more variety than was necessarily the case. And I think this game sort of takes a page from that in a good way. I know there's always gamers sometimes have some very funny ideas about what is and isn't good practice. What? You used assets from another game? That's terrible. I'm like, that sounds efficient, actually. But yeah, like in this case here, I actually have had some fun times on this map. But this is obviously a very different scenario than when we were starting the engagement a little bit more in the open. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this was one of the first times that I did a melee strike, like dashing down from on high and taking someone out. Whereas here, this environment is we're going to be coming out of the woods, dealing with these areas that theoretically the enemy could be running into for cover. I noticed the enemy doesn't normally take cover, but obviously the dynamics of this fight are going to be entirely different based off of this starting position. So anyways, let's, as always, we'll see what we're dealing with. So we've got marksman and a heavy handgun and an autocannon. So this thing is dangerous at short range, and this thing I probably want to respect. Okay, so they are shooting the Hermes. Well, actually, that's good news for the Hermes, because it can move really fast. So obviously this is smashing into the Sleipnir. I don't want to have that happen, but the Sleipnir will be moving. So what I want to try and do here is I want to try and take advantage of this cover as soon as possible. So we just run straight up. The shots start happening now. My other option, of course, is to just hide behind the hill here, but that's a very passive move. I really don't want to do that if I can avoid it. Actually, there's one other thing that I can do, which is to do a dash. I believe dash is still a faster mode of travel, even with the speed of the Hermes. So we're dashing. The attacks come in at the 1.5 second mark. So I'm potentially crossing open. Well, not really. So let's just change the perspective. We'll try and get a little bit of an idea of what the sight line looks like. The trees are a little bit of a problem, but running through, keeping in mind that the ray that's being drawn is from the base of the attacker to the base of the target. But I still think they're going to be hitting the wall. I'm also going to be moving. So again, if you're moving head on, it's very likely that something's going to hit. If you're moving left to right, if you ever play first-person shooters, you know those are not easy shots to hit. I think that's a risk I'm willing to take for this particular unit. And we're cleared out on... I'm actually changing things up a little bit here, but... So the heat is also dissipated by the time. So the reason why I change this up a little bit is, if I can, I'd like to open up on the tank. And I realize it's outside of the optimal range, but I'm going to try something here where... So one thing that I'm sort of realizing is, let's just try this here as an... Okay, that's actually ideal. Okay, we'll move that out of the way. So this says it's 70% weapon effectiveness, right? So the idea here is as soon as I'm around that corner, I want to be able to open fire. So it's 70% weapon effect. Let's take the game at its word, right? 70% weapon effectiveness at 678. That's okay. Comparing that to 305, realistically, unless the number goes less than 50%, chances are it's more effective for me to be using my assault rifle in these cases. So as a result, this is one of the reasons why I've been reevaluating my sidearm, because at the moment here, the assault rifle is really what I want to be using in most of these situations. One other nice little thing about the UI, I don't know if this is something, I've pointed this out a couple of times, but you'll actually see on the timeline, it does get a little bit whiter the hotter you are, and so the game does a nice job of giving you a little bit of feedback in terms of where your temperature's at. So anyways, that's basically me dealing with the first attack in the mission. So it looks like the Sleipnir is the target for the autocannon, and this actually lends itself perfectly to a to my next action. I'm not really that interested in attacking this tank, so I'll make sure that I have an entire underground structure between me and its attacks. And what I'll do instead is I'll just take the time to move in close to the enemy unit and whack them with a sword when they get too close. So in this case here, we'll hit him on the ground. This is one of these cases where it might help me out to just kind of keep walking forward and try and take one of these objectives. Reinforcements arrive on turn 4, and I think what would be kind of nice is, given how in the past I've had situations where the reinforcements wind up being a little bit tougher than I was anticipating, having the objective done and being able to say I am opting into pursuing this fight as opposed to I need to continue this fight, I think that's just that's a slightly better place to be in than sitting and waiting for the or kind of hoping that the enemies aren't too tough when I'm still trying to get the objectives finished. The last kind of big question is, what do I want to do with my lance? And there's two arguments. So number one would be get them involved with the mech, because having a shotgun in place to sort of do some pretty hefty damage is nice. The other alternative would be, the other thing too is, because I have been destroying a lot of mechs instead of taking them out as far as either concussive damage or parts, it might help for me to start using my lance as a little bit more of a football mech, basically just shoving things around with its shield. I think I'm going to opt into using it for the tank, though. So this is going to be a little complicated because it's just such a slow mover, but I'll use the dash as much as I can. I have no expectations at all about being able to... ooh. Okay, good. I don't hit my own guy. I'm using the dash just for the distance. And then just kind of assuming that things will cool off. So basically, again, slow moving. I kind of want to put it up against the tank because, you know, shields are rather good against tanks. More importantly, with all of the dashing, oh, what do you know? This tank is now in the ideal range, which means that if the tank wants to attack the Hermes can safely run and take an objective. And if the tank wants to focus on the Lance will just throw up its shield and walk into it. And I think that's the turn. So I'll do this at full speed. Oh, that's beautiful. This thing's already crashing. That's great. The attack is going to be on the Hermes. So as promised, Hermes runs and takes an objective. I do want to do as much damage as I can to the tank as the turn goes by. And of course, the Lance is now able to do its thing. The one thing that's really nice about this is that this tank is forced to stand still. So, I'm not sure that shotgun does 1,000 damage, so I'm pretty sure this thing gets taken out. Now, this is an interesting question. Like, do I want to just go head on against the melee unit or against the marksman, or do I just decide, okay, well, they want to attack me, that's fine. I'll just, you know, push myself up against the wall and I'll force them to shoot the ground while my other units do damage to it. I think I'm going to opt for that. So again, we take our sniper, fire with the sniper rifle as soon as possible. Oh yeah, it's not even the no, it is the marksman rifle they shoot with. Oh yeah, this thing is probably not going to survive. I'll wait out the first round of attacks. I think really what I should be doing is finding out what the next best position is. All right, let's see how it goes. And we've got 2 people on the objectives, so... Okay, so this pilot sees the writing on the wall. Absolutely. Oh, the drone is a rough location of the crate, but we're going to need another ping to ensure it's picked up. So absolutely no reason for me to move these 2 units. They're not under attack. This unit is going to finish its attacks on the Lance, but in this case, it's just going to eject. It knows it's not going to survive. The legs are taken out, the arms are taken out, so what's left is the marksman rifle and whatever remaining body parts. I'll just keep this unit. So this is in a nice central location. We don't know where the reinforcements are going to be arriving. So you can sort of see as far as the ring is concerned, it's got reasonable cover for all the, the exit for the, the places where my current units are. These guys are sort of forced to stay where they are. In this case, I just don't really have any reason to move my people anywhere else. So we will stay put. Oh, actually very unlucky. I mean, that's a huge hit to my my left arm there. Commander, the base is circled around to the perimeter. We're ready to pick up the squad if needed. So that's really unlucky, actually. we were on our way to having a zero damage encounter, and I just ran in front of the shots. So here we're just going to wait for the enemy reinforcements to show up. Dropping in, command is getting impatient. Let's get this over and done with. So it's 4 tanks that are arriving. It's reasonably good news for me. So one thing I want to try and do with my units that need to be in the fight quickly, so I want to dash them early. So what happens here? We do 2 dashes. That brings me up to 3/4 heat, and then I spend the rest of the turn getting the Sleipnir down to, getting down to the heat level that I want. Similar story with the Hermes. The Hermes is very sensitive to heat. I realistically only get about 2 shots a turn, but the aim on this one really is just to make sure that enemy units are in a good position to get some shots off. So the sniper. This is going to be a little bit of a trickier one. I feel slightly more comfortable about that. And the real question here is how quickly I can get the lance in play. If I can get the lance in there quickly, we're golden. But it is going to take some effort. The thing I'm worried about is the heat costs to get me... I don't know. It's not great. I mean, I'm at half heat at the start of the turn, but we are able to get some shots off. So again, these tanks are not just going to sit idle. Next turn, they are going to do some damage to the people who are trying to damage them. But I do have enough people in place to be able to do some damage, and we can work out some priorities. All right. So, cannon. Okay, so we don't have short range worries. It's all long range bullies. Okay, so this is going to seem a little weird, what I'm doing here. So it's like, why am I voluntarily taking, overheating and taking that damage? It's for the simple reason that, one, I can't just cross the distance to get to this unit right away. So what I'm doing instead is I'm taking out this unit that's far away. And what I'm doing is I'm closing the distance the fastest way I can with a melee attack. So not only is their attack less effective against me, but I'm also stopping it early. And so admittedly, I do take some damage off of that, but I take less damage than I would if I just took a cannon shot to the face, and I completely neutralize the remaining attack that comes in. I might even be able to get away with... Nope, not even close. Yeah, so we'll just wait out the remaining one. But what this does here is it takes out 2 enemy units which are potentially threatening me. So... let's see what else we can do. Get an early shot on this unit here. I'm sort of focusing on this unit because they're going to be targeting the sniper, which has got some damage on its left arm. It might even be at a point where I might want to just run them to safety. Yeah, I don't feel great having to do that, but I prefer that to the possibility of losing an arm to carelessness. Oh, you know what? I got to be careful on that shot because that might be that unit may not be where I think it is. Okay, so we're moving in. Okay, so that unit's going to be sitting there. That's still within my range. So it is crossing over into the next. It is crossing over into the next turn, but I'm trying to sort of maximize the damage output here. All right, can I get away with? No, I cannot. And looks like they do want to attack me right at the end. So I'll make sure I put my shield up in time, because that is within the optimal range. But let's see if we can get another shotgun off and inconvenience our enemies. Again, a little bit of heat damage, but I think that's worth it in the long run. Cool. 2 tanks down. All right, and everybody hates the lance. So here we'll get the Hermes to turn its attention to. So really, the Hermes is in the best place to take out this tank. This is a really tough one. Like, I gotta try and balance out the... Oh, there's no way that works. Alright, that's a shame. It would have been cool if I could somehow save the lance from taking any damage there, but I think it's... Oh, really? The only thing is that the trip takes too long. That works, though. That really feels like I'm off the map, but... Oh, I don't need to stay still after I take the shot, so we'll move in. I'm kind of assuming that this thing will be done by that time. So then the remaining question is, what can I do with my sniper? So no point in staying still for that that shot. That unit's already down. So I'm probably overcompensating on this unit, but I think we should be able to see this finish. Okay, that one's done. And still wants to attack, so... Oh, that's interesting. So it's coming after the... It's coming after the behemoth. Well, what I normally would have done would be to take the lance and put its shield up to protect the behemoth, but the behemoth has an easier answer. It just needs to dash to safety. I think can't have a lot left, well, a lot of gas left in the tank, so I'll just leave it to the Hermes. Yeah, there we go. All hostiles eliminated, site under control. So 42nd battle, 1,060 damage taken, 10,629 damage inflicted, no units lost, no subsystems on site, 77 actions planned, 1,636 meters traveled, 5 units destroyed, no parts on site, 155 supplies. We've got the arrow body, the marksman rifle, which might be something, although I've gotten pretty used to having a sniper rifle now, so that marksman's going to have to do... That marksman's going to have to do some pretty impressive damage for me to want to replace my sniper. And then there's an arrow heavy. I don't know... Like, I can't tell from looking at it what the heavy part is, so I think we'll have to wait on that. There's a bunch of destroyed tanks. No surprises there. It's all gray too, so maybe the rifle, but pretty unlikely for me to use that sort of stuff. On that note, though, I think, as much as I would love to keep doing some more Phantom Brigade, I'm a few minutes over. It's also getting close to midnight, and I have a few things that I want to get done tonight. So, I thank you all for watching. If there's any remaining questions, now would be the time to get them in. I will just caution, as is usually the case, has been the case from last week, rather. There are a few things coming up which I have agreed to cover, and this may mean that I have to move Phantom Brigade from the Monday slot. And so just as an overview of what happens on the stream on a normal week, Monday is sort of a strategy day, which has been dedicated to Phantom Brigade for a very long time. Wednesday has sort of unofficially become Industries of Titan Day, although that used to sort of be more of a free day for me. And then we've been doing Hollow Knight for a while, and that's been taking up Fridays. And now I'm in God Home, which I have a feeling is going to be taking a very long time. So in very practical terms, I'm quite booked as far as games are concerned. What may happen, I'm trying to figure out how I can still keep covering Phantom Brigade and Industries of Titan as regularly as I would like. Because honestly, like, if I had it my way, I'd play both games every day of the week. The problem is that I wouldn't have time to do anything else, including sleep. So, in addition, on Tuesdays, there's the pre-recorded videos of Elder Scrolls. For those of you who haven't seen them, I play a Dunmer, and I use this voice during the entire broadcast. Which is horrible for some and a very big draw for others. So that episode's already been recorded, and that will be vodcast will be on at 7 if you want to participate in chat, and if you want to just watch the high quality video on YouTube, that starts at 7. Splicer, thank you very much for the follow. But it's a couple of changes to that. The reason I'm mentioning the schedule now is that, number one, if I stop playing Phantom Brigade for a bit, it is simply because I have agreed, well, potentially, it seems very likely that there's something coming out which I will be covering for a little bit. And this might mean that maybe I jostle Industries of Titan and Phantom Brigade for a little bit, just the one that's got the most recent update. I'll cover that one. And then, I'll, Phantom Brigade sometimes, Industries on another one. Once I get Hollow Knight done, that'll free up another day so I can work there. I can also get back to Everspace too. But at the moment, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday are the normal stream days. However, in addition to this question in terms of what's going to be happening with the schedule moving forward, it is important to remember that this Wednesday is the local game dev meetup. So I'm going to be hanging out with the Dirty Rectangles people. And I normally host that on the channel here. But again, if I can, I'm going to try and start squeezing in little streams of opportunity if I can. That might mean I do things off of my normal hours, either earlier or later. But as you can see, it's already getting a little bit full in terms of the overall schedule. So, just keep that in mind. As I've always said, if I stop playing a game, it's not necessarily because I'm not very interested in it. There have, on occasions, been cases where it's very clear that the game is just not working for the audience. And I, something I would have normally been playing a lot longer is something that I just sort of moved to playing on, on like YouTube or on my own time. So like, Age of Wonders Planetfall is an example of that. Like, it was pretty clear that there was consistently lower, concurrent viewers playing that game, and there was interest communicated in terms of YouTube, so when I'm ready to go back to Age of Wonders Planetfall, I'll spend a little bit more time on YouTube for that. But yeah, I just wanted to say that, you know, especially for stuff like Everspace 2, I will say if I don't care for a game very much. And I'm going to be struggling to maintain the schedule a little bit, and I don't think it's particularly bad if somebody says, hey, whatever happened to Game X? I really liked it when you played that. When are you going to do it again? I know some streamers don't like that. For me, it's helpful to know what people want to see, and I wanted to be upfront about, one, what I'm not going to be streaming, but number two, that I'm going to be struggling to get everything in on time. And it would be very helpful for me to know if something is or isn't working for you. You can feel free to bring it up. But with that in mind, I'm going to leave it here. Thank you, everyone, for watching, particularly Splicer, because I feel like you did a really good job of holding me to my... I feel like you did a really good job of holding me to explaining the game a little bit better. I hope you got what you wanted to see out of the unit customization. Hopefully next week, once we salvage the manufactory base, I'll actually be able to equip my units with some better bits. Because obviously there's a difference between sort of saying, here's the menu, you know, here's, you know, the 5 things that you can change or whatever. But to actually see, it's like having the tactics part of the game, right? Obviously understanding what the decisions are in the context of the current objective is a lot more useful than just saying it's like, yeah, you got missile launchers, you got handguns, and it's up to you to decide what you want. One last thing I'll mention, just because there's some new people in here, we've been enjoying Arsenal 2. I think Arsenal 3 is going to be coming out reasonably soon. Oh, actually, you know what? There is one last thing I'll do. Energy weapons. Why am I excited about Isaac 101? I'm actually just wrapping up. Thank you for stopping by, but I'm doing quite well. How are you? Let me just take a minute here. I was talking about how this game does a good job of capturing what was inside the trailer. I know I've done this a couple of times, but for those of you who want to see why I'm excited for energy weapons, let's bring up that trailer again, because I have a feeling there's some people who haven't seen it. This will just take me a minute. I'm sorry, I do like the worst long goodbyes, but the good news is it gives me a chance to find somebody online too. So this is the teaser trailer that Brace Yourself put out for the game. Where are we?
Get to the shop now! I can only hold this for 5 more seconds.
I only need 3, 2, 1,
All local time threads are converging. There's nothing more we can do here.
Is it finally time for some shut-eye?
No. Not today.
So this is what I mean when I say, like, basically playing the game is like watching the trailer. Everything that we've seen in that trailer you can do, except for that beam weapon. And Arsenal 3 announces that they're going to be adding energy weapons. So Isaac, that's really kind of you to say. I stream Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Normally, I will start anywhere between 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern time. I usually go for at least 3 hours. I started late today. The only thing I will warn you is that on this Wednesday, I am going to be at a local game dev meetup, virtual meetup. So I'm going to be hosting that instead. And the other thing that I'll mention is on Tuesday, I have a pre-recorded video, but you can normally find me if you rewind time by about 4 hours today. That would be somewhere around the time that I start the stream normally. And if you ever miss a stream, there's the videos that are on Twitch. Those last for 2 weeks, and then I put everything on YouTube as well. So sorry you're coming in at the end, but hopefully hopefully I get a chance to catch you next time. Now, I got to find somebody to host tonight, so let's see if anybody's doing Phantom Brigade or someone who I haven't hosted in a while. Kind of feel like I host the same people over and over again. Nobody's streaming Phantom Brigade. Curses. Has anybody streaming Industries of Titan? No. Okay. Well, I know No Virtue is currently playing Surviving Mars, so... No Virtue is normally a Stellaris streamer, so she's doing another game, City Builder game that I quite like. It's not really turn-based tactics like Phantom Brigade, but I think it's something that most of you folks will like. She's very good at games. She tends to play them at quite a high level, so it's not exactly my style of play. But I do think she's quite good at Surviving Mars, and I suspect that's probably something nice and relaxing to finish the evening on. So I know there's not a ton of you hanging around, but I will leave you in No Virtue's capable hands. I will see some of you tomorrow for the vodcast. I'll see some of the rest of you perhaps on Friday or next week. Until then, have a good night, and see you next time.